Yo, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, awesome. Okay, so
Nice. You're a
um,
little you're a little compressed. Why?
interesting. Okay, yeah. So I'm on this SM57 daily do here.
I wonder if it's
The gain is a little up.
I can adjust mic volume. Try talking now.
Check, check, check,
That does nothing for me. I wonder if it's the echo cancellation. Try again.
check, check, check.
You're even more quieter. What the hell?
Yep. Okay, so I'm gonna boost my gain. Boost
Yeah,
my
crank that gain because you're like compressed and kind of quiet.
talking in the microphone.
Oh, that's a little bit better. I guess you just gotta talk into it. it's it's cutting out so much of what you're saying. Can you hear me? Hello. Hello.
Okay.
Perfect. That's how we test now.
All right.
If you can hear this, then it's working, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess just talk into it. Because for whatever, hold on, let me. Oh, never mind. Keep talking.
Check.
So I'm a fucking moron. My volume was down. So I totally forgot. The Antelope just did an update. So it just did this firmware update, and I guess it reset the volume. So I'm sitting there going like, man, you're really compressed and quiet than usual. I'm like, oh, I should probably turn this the fuck up. But because everything else is loud, like the intro video was like loud as fuck. And so
All right. Well, I mean, I guess
that's better. There you go. See?
Yeah, I just gotta speak into the microphone and whisper.
Place it in a position that you're talking to.
Hear the ASMR. Do you hear the ASMR?
We have to do like Frank branded MSR, or just so as I just like heavy breathing and like one syllable words. This stream is like just dedicated. This whole stream is going to be like how we actually record sound into things. You're going to see us just hit random shit. And it's going to look like it's like a Neubauten kind of inspired show, but it's really just two guys just really drunk hitting shit. That's really what it is. There's no artistic value to it.
What early Neubauten was like.
I'm just saying that's what we're going to be. I'm not. No.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, Blixa was a little blitzed.
Yeah, there was drugs was involved a lot. There had to be. I mean, if you're just like, what is this, like 1970s, like 80s Germany, like right before the wall comes down, and you're just bored as shit and you can't afford instruments, why not make your own? And then why not record a concert footage in some derelict construction site for an hour and a half where you're effectively just banging on shit? Man, I wish I was alive then. I mean, I was, but I mean, I wish I would have been the age I am now then, because I imagine we would have made a lot more money making music if we know now, back then, because I'd be like, Greg, we could just go back in time. We're going to make the best goth album ever. We're going to just undercut everybody before they get popular.
Yeah, we just have to make Masked by.
Just like record all like the biggest goth hits and just go back in time and write them before they all do. Just really just undercut the shit out of them.
Well, that's the thing. Like the Masked by the Wake. Had that happened 8 years before Masked by the Wake actually happened, that would have been a huge album, at least in the UK, like where I am. Like that would have been a very, very big album. Unfortunately, it came out in like 1994 or something on Cleopatra Records, and it was basically like released directly to a trash can. Like no one listened to it, even though it's an amazing.
This is 94. We've gone past that era. We're in muddled industrial spandex almost. Not until late 90s, but like.
Yeah, it came out like Cleopatra Records, full on like a goth industrial tribute to AC/DC era, like nonsense.
Oh my god, that's like the worst time to try. Like the 90s had some pretty cool stuff, but like for that whole goth and especially the industrial, like industrial. I always have to say industrial with air quotes because nothing you would assume is industrial really is anymore. But that was kind of like during that time, it just got lawless. Zeromancer was allowed to happen, and so it was like Combi Christ and shit, and like. And all these bands that like we're industrial. I'm like, no.
Send me an angel to have.
If Nitzer Ebb couldn't fucking call themselves industrial, what fucking chance does Combi Christ try jocking that title? Like fucking like no, like I would rather call Nitzer Ebb industrial before I called them because it's just EBM, dude. Like chill the fuck out. And now that especially like the very like 99, 2000, like those first few fucking years of just well, new metal's popular still.
Yeah.
What if we had synths to it? And what if
I don't like Combi Christ, but I will throw this out there. I will ride for Icon of Coil, which is effectively the same fucking band. Like
I just don't like Joe or Andy at all. I mean, I don't like Joe for obvious reasons because he's a piece of shit, but Andy's kind of always been kind of a piece of shit though too. And so I liked that. What was it? Today We Are All Demons or one album when when did that come out? When I was like 17 or something. Like this is cool, and then like that was really it. Anything past that, I'm like, fuck. Like it's kind of lost in that whole wave of bands like Suicide Commando and all that. You know, they're good stuff, and then you have the shittier stuff on top of it, and I don't know, fades to obscurity. I guess who even listens to Suicide Commando anymore? It's like the first time I've thought of them in like 10 years. I need to listen to them now. Torture and kill on repeat.
Yeah, mine. Torture and kill. God, was it like this? This is my rifle, this is my gun song. That was Combi Christ, right?
Yeah, it was. It's so stupid. And they had like that give head if you got it. Fucking bullshit. It's like the worst traits of that. It's like what really Combi Christ is if you took like, in the 80s and 90s, you had that weird gatekeeping elitist, but it wasn't quite as prevalent until it kind of got deeper into the 90s and 2000s. And then the weird, toxic, weird, misogynistic bullshit that would take on those scenes. And that's really what Combi Christ is. It's like Andy sat down, was like, it'd be cool if I can somehow profit off of my personality. And that's, like all these other guys. As far as I know, I don't think he's gone as worse as Joe has, but like fucking, he's not great, but like fucking that whole fucking, it's like, how can we just make a genre of just like the shittiest, disgusting, toxic, gross personalities and make it into music? I wrote a song. It's called Give Head If You Got It. We need to take ourselves seriously. Let's move into metal. Jay Gordon's in the wings. Like, did someone say Trick Factory? Let's do this.
So hold on. Here's did you ever hear Icon of Coil? Andy's project before.
I probably have, but it's not something I've gone out recently to hunt down. So I'm sure if you played whatever the hit was for them, I'd be like, yeah, I've heard this. Yeah. And I'm sure I've heard that before. Like Icon of Coil is apparently great. I couldn't tell you what they sound like until I hear it. And I'm like, oh yeah, I've heard this. Let's play it. We won't get taken down.
That's a problem. Like I want to do like a whole morning radio thing with the Frankenstein house, but unfortunately
what the fuck is going on with those graphics? Is that just your thing? Do you want me to share it? Here, send it to me and I'll share it.
Demo scene bullshit.
Because send the link to me and let me share it because it's coming kind of scuffy on your end.
Okay. All right.
It's like cutting out. Yeah.
All right.
Hold on. We'll do this again because this deserves to be seen in like high definition because it's fucking awesome. There's those graphics. It's like, what do they use for that fucking? What was that old Adobe fucking? God, what is it called? I used to fuck with it in high school in like the late 90s. What was it? The fucking. I'm gonna lose until I hunt it down, but it's the the fucking the animation software that you could use when they started building more animation, 3D animation, and it looks exactly like that bullshit. And I'm sure I've made that already. So I just need to share my screen. All right, let's do this.
Share your screen and make sure you share the audio with it.
I'm not gonna do that. No. You don't need to hear audio. Come on.
From this nonsense 90s video.
Application window. I definitely don't want to Opera tab. There we go. Let's share that. All right, here we go. There we go. Iconic coil. Strap in. You're in for a fucking treat. Oh, 720p. Oh, wow. We can hear this the way God intended it. This is somebody made this. This is actually okay. Oh shit. Hold on. All right, hold on. Where the fuck is it? Giving me the option to share audio on it. It didn't give me a. Give me a second.
It's like a little checkbox down at the bottom of the screen when you share your screen.
Check a video. Follow these steps to share a video with audio. Is there something stupider with Chrome tab, share screen, list of tabs, share screen? Oh, I am a complete dump truck. So there we go. Let's do this again. Share audio, and away we go again. Dead enough for life. I initially thought Andy made this, but I guess maybe it's him, and it's just he used a really cringy name.
God, these fucking these things were these graphics were 10 years out of date when they made this video.
This is Winamp graphics, but yeah, I miss Winamp. I'm gonna have to see if that's still around. I'm gonna download that and only use that. Winamp and Foobar. I feel like we could make this in 5 minutes. I'm excited for the vocals.
Crank the volume on whatever this is.
Let me crank the volume on the video. There we go. Yeah, if you were to play this to me, I'd be I'd just start throwing darts at bands' names and it would stick because it sounds like almost everything that was out at the time. Yeah, I know. I'm just who? Make you understand if I'm not dead enough for life. Am I alive enough for death? This is your high school years, isn't it? This in the mirror, just going for it.
But it's sort of in that area.
I apologize to everybody.
All right, we can
Okay, we can. Oh, a gift from the unknown. Oh shit, we're getting to the good part. A gift from the unknown.
Yeah. So
wow.
I realize I have not introduced this. Welcome to Santa Claus house.
Santa Claus house. Hold on, I need to actually fix my name. Oh, I guess I can't.
Really?
Well, hold on. I think I can. I just put B on there, so I mean, enjoy. You know,
you gotta leave the studio and come back to the studio. I can do that. I can vamp for a little bit if you want to do that. All right, so Bond is jumping out of there. So yeah, thank you for tuning in to Welcome to Santa Claus House, the special holiday edition of Welcome to Frankenstein House, where life is beautiful all the time, and I'll be happy to see those nice young men in their clean white coats, and they're coming to take me away. Haha.
Yes.
All right, so yeah, my name is G.A. Alexander. This is hold on. This
this
on wood. I forget that I'm reversed on this thing all the time.
Yeah, because for me you're on my left, but
yeah, I think
I don't know.
Yeah.
You're somewhere. I think. No, wait. Yeah, you're that way.
This is my right hand.
This is my left hand. Yeah. So
yeah.
Mirroring technology.
Yeah,
why?
We're, far in the future now.
We're so far in the future. We're reliving 1984. So all the weird fascist like things we wrote about way back when is like, this is what the future is going to be like Equilibrium, but shittier. No one knows Kung Fu, and we are all dying. No.
In general, like William Gibson was right, except he wrote everything far more interesting than it actually is.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
I think maybe if we hadn't had like top tier, amazing post-apocalyptic or dystopian fascist like movies and books and shit, like I'm sure this stuff would be more interesting because I mean, I don't know. It's just really just a bunch of old fucking people, deciding that they need to, invoke some weird dragon type personality. We need to hoard shit when they're probably going to die in the next 5 years. So, welcome to America. No.
Well, it's all right. They can leave all that shit to their cats, when they die.
Cats will take over. It almost reminds me of the I've been rewatching Love, Death, and Robots 'cause I'm excited for series 2. And then the yogurt episode is like the best. You haven't seen it? No, you need to. It's perfect to put on because they're all like 11-minute quick little films and stuff that are made. And like most of them are like fucking incredible. Like they range from like fucked up horror, like just fucked up in general, comedy, just weird, cool shit. So I think you would dig it a lot, actually. Like there's some things in there that I think you'd pull some ideas on for, some more comic book things.
Nice.
Like yogurt taking over. And not like yogurt, the edible one. I'm talking about fucking Mel Brooks's. I almost said Gibson. And then I realized not only would that be ironic, that would be kind of fucked up. So Mel Gibson is not a great person, but Mel Brooks's yogurt is going to take over the world. So excited for Spaceballs.
So what I wanted to do with this episode is I kind of wanted to do a, sort of a retrospective of horror in 2020, aside from the general horror that we all lived through and kind of like what we're looking forward to in the genre next year. So probably what I'm going to do is from this, I'm going to we're doing the live stream right now, but I'll probably download this after the fact and I'll sort of like start sneaking in trailers and, artwork and things from what we're talking about, because we're sort of we talk a lot about horror movies, talk a lot about horror comics. So, throwing some visuals in here.
I know, right? Well, I'm sure we'll pepper this with an obscene amount of visual aid. So that's how we do it. We'll just start flinging visual aid and, see how that plays out.
So in 2020, obviously, a lot of crazy shit happened. Mostly we stayed inside. Sometimes we didn't because things were terrible and we actually had to leave our houses to let everybody know they were terrible. And then things just got more terrible. So that didn't really work out for us. In general, though, it's been kind of an interesting year for for horror movies. There's been a few different things. So if you don't mind me like starting off with my first.
Oh, hell yeah. Go ahead.
Hold on a second here.
You've been sitting on this for a while. So you just.
So my first thing to share is so the first thing I kind of like really want to pull up for people that was really cool in 2020, and it technically is not a thing of 2020, but it got very interesting in 2020, has been Joe Bob's Drive-In. So if anyone has the Shudder app, so Shudder, I think it's a division of AMC. They have basically, it's mostly horror movies. They have some mystery stuff on there. But they started doing live streams, and they started doing Joe Bob Briggs, who is pretty famous for doing. He's a like film critic and writer, but he started doing in the mid '90s. He had a TV show on TBS, I want to say, maybe TNT, one of the Turner networks, called Monster Vision, where effectively he would put like B movies on network television, and he would. Have some pretty fun cutaways, all sort of set up in his kind of, south of the border cowboy kind of persona, where he would talk about how He would talk about, he would rank things on, how many kung fu moves would be done in a movie, or like, so we would have kung fu, gun fu,
Kung Fu.
like how many breasts are seen in a movie, things, so things you would want to know,
Well, I mean, those are like between Kung Fu and how many breasts are in a movie. That really covers my overall interest in the movie. Does it A, have some spectacular Kung Fu choreography, and how many breasts can we see?
Yeah.
With Equilibrium, we got to see Christian Bale shirtless, and we got to see Kung Fu, so that's a win-win for all of us. So
yeah, Bale Fu would be a big deal. And so recently, I think in either late 2018 or early 2019, he brought it back. So it was for a few episodes throughout 2019. So he started doing it, and he started working with Diana Prince, who is on the show as Darcy the Mail Girl. And Diana has actually kind of turned into sort of a horror intranet icon. She's kind of been one of like the sort of, I don't know, like it's almost like the opposite of a gatekeeper, like the idea of like somebody who kind of welcomes you into a subculture. So Diana Prince has been one of those people who have been like, will talk with anybody online, will sort of like hang out while watching like shitty horror movie streams, and like talk with everybody about their favorite part of sleepaway camp, or like what was the best, like Silent Night Deadly Night sequel and shit like that. So and she's been like really, really kind of like a cheerleader for this show, and it's just kind of like, it's been very, very cool to see Joe Bob Briggs being kind of a legend in that, and Darcy or Diana Prince being kind of an up and coming just legend in her own right, kind of joining forces on this new version of Monster Vision. Apparently they're doing a whole I haven't seen it yet, but they did a whole stream of all the Phantasm movies.
Ooh, what? All of them?
All the Phantasm movies, or at the very least, like all the ones they could get the rights to, because I know they're held by a lot of different people. So
that reminds us, welcome to Frankenstein House. We'll now be streaming all of the Phantasm movies consecutively until either A, we die from exhaustion, or they come and shut us down. So yeah. Let's do it.
So yeah, that's been a really, really cool thing to have in 2020 is, and they'll have people like they had Lloyd Kaufman from Trauma on. I'm sure probably pretty soon they're going to have like John Waters on doing something.
That would be so great.
They have all of these like very obscure stars on, people who, it's a crime to me like Lloyd Kaufman doesn't have a Netflix deal. Like the idea, like that guy can make gold out of like $20,000, and yet you're throwing like 80 million at like Ryan Murphy. Like just give Lloyd some money, he'll make you some gold. Like it'll be amazing.
Like fuck Ryan Murphy. Like American Horror Story has been just a fucking chore to get through. Like when it first came out, the only reason I watched it because I'm a Charlie Clouser fan, and he did. Fucking love Charlie Clouser. Fucking the first one, and I'd have to rewatch it, but I remember the first time going through it, like, this is dog shit. Like, it doesn't get good until the end. It's very convoluted. There's a lot of weird issues, but as you watch them, you realize it all kind of ties in. But it's a really not a very good way to have started out the series, because by the time they announced the second season, which is a completely different thing, I don't think anyone really gave a fuck about them, because the first one was really kind of disappointing. But then the Asylum one I liked, the Freak Show wasn't bad. And I remember watching a few of them being like, this isn't bad. Like, where the fuck was this? Like, why couldn't we have had like better writing like this? But I mean, leave that shit to like, tried and tested like writers and shit like that, give money to those guys, not Ryan fucking Murphy.
My two favorite seasons of that actually were Hotel, because it was just utterly batshit. Like
that's what I keep hearing.
Yeah, they gave up on the idea of having any kind of plot, and this
Oh,
they
yes.
they just turned it into like a bizarre, just fever dream of.
Oh my God. That sounds, I need to watch that because I feel like I don't need to have seen most of the other ones to really get, because I haven't seen like Roanoke or the 80s one. And like, it seems like there's what I found, like there's seasons in this whole thing that some of them are really freaking good, that if you were just to look at it just as a standalone thing, I think it would be great. But
Yeah.
them trying to tie it all together, because I heard Apocalypse was decent,
I
and
don't know
that
about
whole
Apocalypse, man.
like, or
I like
whatever.
the concept of Apocalypse, but
Yeah.
Apocalypse really went off the rails. They went too
Hmm.
far into, it started with the apocalypse, but then they spent too much time in the past.
Oh,
Just like it was just really silly. But yeah, my two favorites are Hotel and Roanoke. Roanoke was actually Roanoke was the most coherent one, despite the fact that it does huge time jumps in the middle of it.
was
But
that the one where they did it with almost like found footage kind of a thing, where the
yeah,
interview?
so it
I remember
has
you telling me about that.
so it has the characters, and then it has like reenactments of what the characters went through, and then it has the characters and their reenactors all coming to the house together. So
Oh my God. I'm like, just the concept of that alone sounds pretty good. Like, then
yeah.
I wonder who fucking
The one
wrote
that they
that.
took the most seriously. It's like it's the least camp. Like, and
Hmm.
I like
I love
camp.
camp.
If
Yeah.
he was like brought up with like John
Yeah.
Waters movies and shit.
Yeah.
I love camp.
Like,
But I feel like trying to like get me to give a shit about like horror situations while like wacky stuff's happening. Like,
Scooby Dooby Doo.
yeah, yeah.
Here's a guillotine. Wait, what? Like, you just add Scooby Doo like soundtrack to like Terrifier and see how that plays out. Just like
Yeah.
whole new vibe. Like, when I got to Coven, I couldn't take Coven seriously at all. And the fact that Stevie Nicks was thrown into it, and I'm not a Stevie Nicks fan purely because I know the history of Fleetwood Mac, and I like Lindsey Buckingham. But it was just a pure, with all that aside, I just felt like it felt more gimmicky than anything else. Like, they got her in there, and then it just was like, it was really hard to sit through. And I'm like, fuck, I'm really trying to give these shows a chance, but like, I'll come across a really good season, and the next one is just like, fuck, I'm just going to start looking at the synopsis and just fucking guess when I skip ahead, because fuck it. And you shouldn't have to do that for any fucking show. Like, it's insane.
Yeah, so honestly don't do the don't watch Apocalypse if you A didn't like Coven, B haven't watched Hotel, C didn't care for Murder House. Like, it's a sequel
Yeah.
to like every previous season,
That's
and
what it sounded like. It sounded like it was a prequel of the Murder House one, because it very much
or
doesn't it
yeah,
take place like right after, like pretty much the end of Murder House, isn't it? Because it's
it's
the whole
yeah, so
Antichrist thing.
it's like 20 years past Murder House, but it contains like
Oh,
3 or 4 characters from Murder House.
uh,
It has all of the witches from Coven. It has Hotel in it. Like, you gotta watch all those things. The recent one, the '80s one, was fine. They had the main villain of it was Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, which was interesting because they kind of actually got him right.
did they?
Like,
Who'd they get to play him? Was it Zachary Quinto? It's always
yeah,
Zachary Quinto.
it's
It's always Zachary Quinto. Who's in that bodysuit? Zachary Quinto is.
American. All right, Richard
Or Evan
Ramirez,
Peters, I
played
guess.
by. Tell me who played him. Anybody? Anybody? Freaking Zach Villa. Zach Villa was played him, but he looks quite like him. And they apparently when all of his sort of all the historical things they did with him, they actually copied that directly. They copied those directly from like news reports. So of course, the whole thing about him actually being possessed by the devil and raising from the dead and shit. That
Damn.
yeah, that's not historical to the best of our knowledge.
I like that though. I like when they take things that are based loosely off history and they kind of run with it, especially when we don't have enough information to fill those gaps. It's like it, fills in the gaps of your imagination of what really happened. Like one of my most favorite things I watched lately, that isn't a 2020 thing, is but The Terror. Like season 1 of that is, to me, is like the perfect TV show. Like everything about it. I can't find one thing wrong with it other than I want more of just that whole story. But it ended really well. It ended well. Like I didn't feel like there was any loose ends or anything. Like they really took something, expanded upon the reports and stuff, and added some cool shit to it. And it's fucking awesome. Like we need more good writing like that. Take like weird ass points of history, and just, get these good ass horror writers in there and just go for it. Don't,
So have you watched the second season yet? Because I still
Not
haven't.
yet. Not yet. We've been meaning to. I think we just took a break to catch up on a couple other things, and then we're gonna jump back into it and see it. Like I haven't heard too much. I know like George Takei's in it, so and it's more about like that whole like what was it about?
I know it's
like
about
the Japanese internment camps during that time. Yeah, I think, and then about the there's a supernatural legend or something it's based off of over in their culture. So it looks like it could be cool because I'm a big fan of like Asian, fucking supernatural shit. Like that stuff's terrifying. It's awesome. I love it. Which I haven't watched Detention yet. Have you watched that yet?
I watched the first 2 episodes.
How is it?
Okay. I don't understand what that connection it has with the game. I've only played about like 50 minutes of the game though, so maybe it has a bigger connection.
Maybe we just need to power through and play that game because stream that game, play it, get through it, because the game was cool. I enjoyed it. I need to sit down and beat it. I haven't watched it yet though. I like to, especially if it's something where I need to read. I want to make sure I'm not putting something on like it's background because it's something I want to pay attention to see if it's good. So
yeah, I know it's set. So it's set in the 2000s, whereas the game is set in 1960 something. I want to say.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah,
I want to say 50s, 60s, something like that.
Yeah, it's set during the White Terror in Taiwan, not Thailand, Taiwan, and yeah, it's just based around the cultural issues between the Chinese Communist Party and Taiwan's local government, and their the hatred of communists by the local government and the hatred of Taiwan by the Chinese, and general problems with each other all around.
When in doubt, blame communism. Very, very much different over there versus, the 1960s America's fucking scary. Jesus Christ. I still love like those old Reagan era fucking boomer talking points. It's just like, fucking communists. What the fuck, dude? Like, okay. Like, wow, you got me, boomer. You came back with that deep ass insecurity. Let's do it. Anything you don't like is communism.
Yeah, I was watching a Boots Riley interview earlier today where he was talking about how, that sort of like Red Scare thing allowed the Democratic Party to basically run away with, or just sort of infiltrate, left-wing politics altogether and just transformed leftism into leftism and like class related like worker stuff into just like we're progressive. Yeah. And that's a whole. I don't know. That's a thing to go down. But
that's a whole thing. We don't need to get into it. We could be here for hours. We could literally be here for fucking hours going at it over it. Just it's insane. So instead, we'll vaguely reference it and then go on into more of us. So you're talking about your favorite, from 2020.
Yeah, go on to your first favorite.
Oh my god. Okay, so my first favorite was the Possessor movie that came out. Like there's been whispers about it, like advertising for the last like couple of years, and so just kind of been following it. And I remember when it was kind of making its circuit, it was a while back. I think it hit Tacoma at one point, I think, or maybe no, it's a different movie. That was The House That Jack built.
Okay.
I haven't watched that yet. But it was something I was trying to keep an eye on because I wanted, it's Cronenberg's son, so I'm like, oh, body horror, let's get into this, and it has a really cool fucking premise, being an assassin and being able to basically hack into another person and it's control them to commit assassination attempts, so I didn't fucking kill that so much, someone did, but it gets really weird and really, really, really fucked up pretty quick.
Yeah,
And
one of the things I really liked about it is the amount of practical makeup effects.
yeah,
That was incredibly cool. Like I really, really loved the amount of just the level of that, the idea that when they were doing the idea of trying to put forward like the visual idea of her in his brain and him sort of like pulling, like being able to access her memories, him putting on like the mask of her face.
yeah, that was
nasty. It was so cool.
I'm like, God damn, this is great. Just that entire, it reminded me a bit of like the whole, like kind of like a bit like Altered Carbon, kind of that whole shtick with the first season of that, which I need to watch the second because the first was fucking great, I thought anyway. But it kind of like which I thought that was a really cool idea. And then this kind of takes it and goes, let's get fucking like more crazier with it. And oh, Jesus fuck, the face, just I was a big fan of this movie.
Nice. Yeah, it was honestly, it was a really, really cool thing to watch. I don't know if I've seen too many other things by Brandon Cronenberg. Obviously I love his dad's work, but I've never seen, I think he might have done something on one of the VHS
He did,
or maybe ABCs of horror or something like that.
I think so. I know he did Antiviral. I'm checking now. What did
the Antiviral? Yeah. I saw that with my partner put me on that one actually.
I don't know if I saw Antiviral. Hold on, I gotta
it was
skim it real quick.
The idea that it's a company that sells diseases and viruses that have been like suffered by celebrities. So like, like Paris Hilton gets a cold and like she sneezes into a tissue and throws it away, and somebody steals that tissue, grabs gets the virus off of it and sells it to people so you can experience the celebrity's sickness.
Oh my God.
That kind
of shit. I haven't seen that yet. I am going to watch that. Because yeah, he hasn't done too much, it looks like. Just a few things here and there. I don't know if he did he do something? I don't see anything on here on his wiki about VHS, but I almost swear like there was a ton of people involved in those movies, and I think the first one, I think the first two were pretty. I remember the first one being pretty decent. I remember the second one being pretty good, and then I think it kind of spiraled from there. I don't remember the ones after that as much, like for VHS, but I liked the concept of it a lot.
Maybe I was wrong about VHS then. Yeah,
he did do a short. Please speak continuously and describe your experiences as they come to you.
Okay.
And he did another one, the camera. Oh, he did a few, the camera and what is this? The Christopher Merck. What is this one? Is that from there?
I don't know. Maybe I saw some. There's been a lot of anthology stuff.
There's so much anthology shit.
So, yeah, I may have seen it in something else and just sort of mentally ascribed it to being a VHS related thing.
I mean,
a series that I wish they would bring back. Actually, VHS. Yeah. Last one was pretty bad, but I think.
And that was VHS Viral, wasn't it? The one where they were like, that one wasn't that great. I remember that because it was more continuous, wasn't it? It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't just chopped up like the ones are like the separate. It was more like they were. Oh, fuck, what was it? And go ahead. I remember them like constantly like, being on their phones and shit and having fucked up stuff happen. Yeah, like it was going through the network or some shit.
They gave up on the general conception of it being VHS, which I feel like if you're making a thing called VHS,
I mean,
yeah, I know a lot of those directors end up over. There's one really, really good anthology called Southbound, which I still recommend people check out because that one actually does connect everything back, from the start to the end. And I do recommend that people check that one out.
is that
Southbound.
the from 2015?
That would have been it. Yeah, yeah.
And thought, ooh, I don't know if I've seen this one.
Okay, yeah. It's
This
definitely
the cover looks really familiar, but like,
it's definitely one you got to watch all the way through because everything connects together. Even though they're all they're different stories directed by
mhm.
different people, written by different people, but they somehow managed to get them to sync up. But
Nice.
the people who make the intro and the connecting tissue of the movie is a group called Radio Silence, which is I think
Mhm.
like two directors and a producer, or maybe like a writer director producer group, and they're the guys who are making the new Scream movie.
I didn't know they were making a new one because I checked out a Scream like after Scream. What was it? 3? I think I watched 4, and then I know they did a series on it, and I never watched that because I mean the first couple of Screams was pretty cool. It's kind of a cool '90s slasher, and then it's just like how many times can you do that same slasher and have it still feel entertaining? And so I haven't seen the show, so I don't know
The
if it's
first
good or
two
not.
seasons are good, and then they tried to
Okay.
reboot it in the third season, and that just went off the rails.
Okay. I'll have to watch the first 2 then because I
Yeah.
feel like a show would be cool. Like I was actually thinking of like after watching The Terror, I'm like, this is really like The Thing, sans aliens, and like the replication. But I'm like, how cool would it be if they reboot The Thing and just did it like that, like a 10-episode series? Like that's what we should be doing with like movies and books, is just make it into like a fucking like tell the fucking story right. Like fucking turn it into episodic. Like I just finished like the new Mandalorian, and that's been more entertaining than Star Wars in the last Jesus fuck a long time. Like a really long time. And the fact that they had to fucking retcon the new movies because they couldn't get their shit together, which sucks for them. And then there's somebody was saying there's whispers of George Lucas. They're trying to get him to come back. I'm like, no, keep him the fuck away from Star Wars. George Lucas just fucks shit up.
Yeah, I feel like they've given George Lucas a lot of money. Like maybe like give him a budget to make his own. Like the last time he had budget to make a movie that wasn't Star Wars, he came out with Red Tails, which honestly I will support Red Tails. Red Tails is a really fucking good movie. It's about African American fighter pilots in World War II.
I never
Which
watched Red Tails, but
really fucking good. I think like he didn't direct it. He like just produced it and financed it. But it's sort of like when given an opportunity to make stuff, like I feel like George Lucas make or at least make new stuff. George Lucas has a lot of ideas when he's trying to like fix things in the Star Wars universe. I don't like George Lucas. I was never really a Star Wars guy to begin with, though. I was always a Star Trek guy more.
yeah,
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 and I fell off a Star. I fell off a Star Trek halfway through Voyager. So
yeah.
I'm seeing our little ticker there.
You got to be prepared. Like I was a big Star Wars fan growing up. I watched Star Trek 2 growing up, but Star Wars was huge for me. Like I saw the prequels in theaters when I was a kid. I remember when Phantom Menace came out and seeing it, and along with millions of other people, felt the disappointment of seeing that dumpster fire.
Yeah.
Which I rewatched it again after years. I've watched it throughout the years, and it's been a good 10 years or so since the last viewing. So I watched it, and I'm like, I very much agree with somewhat of my initial sentiment towards this movie. It's more or less like if this wasn't supposed to be part of like the main like prequel trilogy, it would be fine as a standalone because there's nothing in this movie that isn't covered directly, like immediately in the second movie at all. And there's like the prequels. It always feels like a money grab with him with Star Wars because how many fucking times did we re-release just in the 90s alone of the special editions of the first the first original movies? Like he just can't not fuck with it. And if like maybe if you like told him, okay, George, I want you to write a Star Wars movie, but fuck the Skywalker saga and write a fucking movie, because I am at this point in the game, and I've read like the books. I was so into Star Wars, I would read the books, the canon and stuff that followed it, which was really good source. So when Disney decided, when they bought it, to say fuck canon, I'm just like, wow, you had so much source to go through that not only has fan appeal, but has really good coherent stories that you can get the fuck away from the Skywalker saga. Like it was so stupid. And so with the prequels, which I didn't hate them, I didn't like the last one because like 5 minutes you're like, cool. In a normal Star Wars movie, this would have built itself up. In this movie, in 5 minutes, the twist is over. We know what's happening. Fucking whatever. I'm just, as much as I love the series and love the books, love the games, grew up with it, I'm sure like Mark Hamill and them are feeling the same way. Like, end the fucking Skywalker saga. Stop. It's like almost Peter Parker in high school. Stop rebooting this shit. As far as I'm concerned, the Skywalker saga either end at Return of the Jedi, or when you make a prequel, reference it in like the first half of the movie, but whatever you do, have that Skywalker saga be done by the end of that first movie and focus on other characters, because there are so many other characters in that universe that are a million times more interesting than crybaby Anakin, I saw that they're doing the Obi-Wan movie and they're bringing back Hayden Christensen to do it. And for the longest time, I hated those movies because I didn't like him, because I'm like, oh, his acting is shit. And I'm like, of course I'm older and not some, pissed off 13-year-old, like, fuck this. And as you're older, you realize that Anakin was never supposed to be a character you're supposed to like. He is a whiny baby back bitch of a character that throws a fit and pretty much throws away, the prophecy because he wanted to get laid. And that is the core of that movie. And so when I look at that back, I'm like, well, they could have done the writing a bit better, but if their whole point was for you to not empathize with Anakin, they did a really good job. And so with the new Obi-Wan show, they're bringing him back to play Vader, and that's 10 years after Revenge of the Sith. So this is like 10-year-old Darth Vader who shouldn't be fully formed yet. He's still like asthma and, all fucked up looking.
Yeah.
And I'm curious on how he's going to play Vader, because I think they're still in talks. There's no confirmation if James Earl Jones is doing the voice, but based off the books and stuff and what that timeline should look like, and I get it, we're on a Star Wars rant in a fucking horror show, but there should be 100% a bunch of scenes of him actually as Hayden, Anakin talking versus the Vader voiceover, because he's not going to be like, it's going to be like, he should be wearing like these prototype suits and shit he was wearing and stuff while he's still refining the method. And this is, the decade, the time where he's just slaughtering the fucking universe of just going around killing. So I'm really curious to see the show, because Ewan McGregor's coming back. He's coming back as Anakin, to see like, so he did Anakin. Let's see how he does it as Vader, which, being that it's been so many years since the last time he was in one, and how the movies kind of ruined his career, I'm really interested in seeing how this plays out. And that's the end of my Star Wars rant. So
it's interesting that Ewan McGregor is just in general so kind of into coming back to previous roles he's played. Like I know that they made the Trainspotting sequel last year, right? Maybe the year before.
I think it was a year or so before, and I don't think I watched it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. I've been wanting to watch it because I've been seeing like I love. So my partner and I have been watching Once Upon a Time, and the guy Chris Begbie plays Rumpelstiltskin.
Yeah, I like that actor a lot. What's his name? Isn't it like David's? What's his name? Because he's in like 28 Days Later. He's a great actor. He's in a lot of cool shit.
Robert Carlyle.
Robert Carlyle. I don't know why I thought Dave. Whatever. Robert Carlyle. Yeah, I like him a lot. He's fucking solid.
28 weeks later, not days.
Yeah, I'm sorry. 28 days, weeks. 28. Yeah, weeks was the second one. The one where I'm like, man, if there's ever zombies, I'm gonna make sure I don't have kids because these kids just fucked up this entire movie. Like that whole scene is attributed to the kids. Just like you just wiped out this, place. So awesome. Don't have kids in the apocalypse.
Is so good as Rumpelstiltskin. Yeah. So okay, that's the thing we're getting into. We're kind of in the first half of season 6.
Mm-hmm.
He is the only thing that's pulling us through this fucking trash fire of a show at this point.
I only watched like part of the first season. This was back in like 2011, I think it was, when
and that would have been right when it came out.
Yeah, because I had a roommate I was living with at the time for a short while, and she was really into it. And I tried watching it, and I'm like the concept seemed really good, but to me, it felt like another one of those. What is it, like ABC or something? One of those.
Or like Grimm.
Yeah, kind of like where it's like I feel like this is one of those shows where it feels like it has a really good premise, but they're gonna fuck it up because it's on a very family friendly network, and they kind of use these as money grabs. But with being that it's been off like
they have access to the Disney versions of all these like folk tales, and so they're just going to use the Disney versions of the folk tales, on. Yeah, he'll continue to be the only reason that and Regina. It's like, the two of them. I actually really liked Hades. I thought he got jobbed out, which I really didn't appreciate. I really like the actor who played Hades. I am not liking the Wicked Witch at all. I think she should go away very quickly. He's great. Regina's great. Let me think. Who else is? Every time the freaking dwarves are on the screen, like I wish they were following the 7 dwarves and their like weird adventures rather than like all of this like shit with like this person's the savior and this person's the author and this I hate that shit. And, like the 7 dwarves are like, yeah, we're trying to figure out how to be fantastical creatures living in the real world, and then like somebody's like, oh yeah, like Bashful is going to college. Like I want to see Bashful in college. That's great.
I want to see the awkwardness that we know is going to happen in college. I want 20 seasons.
So Belle, I like.
Mulan's in this show.
Sorry.
Who the fuck's in this? Mulan's in this show?
Mulan is in the show.
So what the fuck? I thought it was about like, okay, you just mentioned the Disney fairy tales. So I thought it was mostly about like the overall, like, like the Rumpelstiltskin, those like fairy tales. But now we're in Disney, so they're adding like
so
Belle and fucking Mulan. What the fuck?
All right, I'm going to go down the list of the bizarre characters we've had.
Okay.
First of all, Victor Frankenstein's in the fucking
What
show.
the fuck? From where? Where in? So
specifically,
Okay.
For Alice in Wonderland. Victor Frankenstein's in the show, and it's specifically like supposed to be a play on the James Whale one. So anytime they show him before the curse brought him to the real world, it's in black and white. So it's supposed to be like the James Whale, like classic, like Frankenstein.
Yeah.
So they have him. They just brought in Mr. Hyde.
What the fuck?
Dr. Jekyll and
yeah. I'm just like,
they have Nurse Ratched from fucking One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, who they do not explain in any capacity why she's there, but Nurse Ratched's there for some freaking reason.
Does ABC just own rights to all of these? And they're like, hey, so at what point do the characters start just introducing a fuck ton of random ass characters? I feel like at that point they're like, we're losing ratings. Let's go to our IPs.
Monte Cristo, the Count of Monte Cristo,
like the sandwich. No,
yes, they
the sandwich. They just bring it in. Here we go, Antonio Banderas.
They'll have these sort of like completely off the wall characters. So Rumpelstiltskin, who's Robert Carlyle, is effectively the Beast from Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, I think I vaguely remember hearing something reference to that. I always thought he was supposed to be kind of a supporting character, and it sounds like he kind of became a main character really fast because it's Robert Carlyle. So
yeah, I was reading about it. Apparently, like because of the way he played Rumpelstiltskin in the pilot, They basically just brought him. They made him a more important character, and they sort of built. Thank you very much. But they sort of built a whole story arc around him, just because he played like he knew more than he did. But yeah. So Once Upon a Time is not a recommend, but it is a thing that I'm watching right now because I'm so far into it. I only have like a season and a half before we're over, so I'm locked in at this point.
So, like, at what point during a season like this do you does the Stockholm syndrome set in? Is it like how far into it? About halfway.
Season.
Because I've been in that situation before where I'm like, I've invested so much fucking time into this, but I can't stop watching it, even though it's gone dog shit, because I need to know how it ends, because that's just how we are.
Oh yeah, and Mr. Hyde talks in Bane voice, which is amazing.
Yeah. It's just Tom Hardy behind the bushes, just like
yeah. Let me get to my next one before we
let's
get a full hour of us just babbling about horse.
Yeah, we could. I mean, we could just Bane voice the shit out of this for like the next hour and a half. Let me see if I can
my second thing that I really enjoyed in 2020, of all things, was Host.
Oh yeah, it was funny because last night when I messaged you, I was literally looking at that. I'm like, what are movies that I've watched this year, horror movies that I've really, really liked that have stand out that came out this year? I'm like, well, Host was really good. It was like one of the ones where it doesn't look like it was going to be good because it's very unassuming. And then you watch it and you're like, holy shit. Like, I think we watched it like twice because we showed it to a friend of ours. And I'm like, this is such a good fucking movie.
Host with many T's.
Just how it's shot. Like,
So it's in the, so for anybody who hasn't watched it, it's in the vein of things like Unfriended and like Deep Dark Web and movies like that are all inside of like a browser window or inside of or inside of Skype, or in this case inside of Zoom, and it's basically a group of friends decide to do a tarot reading while in lockdown. So it's set during the COVID lockdown. It's basically people on their like weekly Zoom call to catch up with each other, and they bring in a tarot reader to do. Or I don't think it's a tarot reader. I think it's a seance.
It's a seance, a medium. They bring a medium in to for giggles, because it's something to do.
Shit goes fucking haywire, but yeah, it's honestly it is a movie that does so much cool stuff with a very very sort of like limited everything. Sort of like the people starring in the movie had to do their own special effects for certain things, and like they had to do and like obviously there's there are people doing computer effects after the fact, but they did so much stuff in camera, and it was freaking amazing. I loved it.
They did very practical effects, very practical. Like, one of my favorite scenes is, okay, how can I say this without, fuck it. Anyway, one of my favorite scenes is, and we'll word it like this. Okay, so at this point, shit's kind of been happening, and the main characters are kind of trying to figure out. And at this point, some characters have kind of like gone offline or whatever because they're they have their own shit that's going on. There's this one scene where one character has a animated background, and that she did kind of for work or whatever, just to to make it look like she's like active or whatever. It's like a background with her just like walking and stuff, and then eventually it's a real, just that by itself. I was like, when first earlier in the movie when she was like showing that, I'm like, oh, that's kind of funny. I was thinking like, I wonder if they're gonna, and then like it happens. I'm like, wow, that's fucking cool. Just like practical in-app effects that just kind of just made it work. And I don't know, like it's great for what it is. Like, I love it. It's just a great supernatural
Yeah, I
Fucked
mean,
up film.
it's a cool found footage, completely
Found
just
zoom footage.
yeah, but it's the ingenuity that went into this, the amount of like work that went into this. Like, it's a freaking
It
like
is.
it's an accomplishment, especially with they didn't they were filming this at a time where they didn't have like Hollywood COVID protocols. Like everyone
Mm.
had to stay in their freaking house. They did so well with this. Like I just like kudos to everybody involved. This was such a cool movie.
And all the cameras, like, came off as the webcams and stuff, like using that. So there's no like fixed, like it's all just like going off somebody's like camera, whether it's their laptop, phone, or something. And I don't think they don't do any other camera shot outside of that. And it's really, really well done. Like it's so Frankenstein house is going to recreate Host, and we're going to get a seance and get drunk. And we're going to see how probable this is to happen. And then you're just 2 hours into it, we're just really drunk, yelling at whatever spirit Greg decided to piss off because he decided to criticize its voice. It starts like, I'm the start like.
So Bond's going to tell us how we're going to recreate this with his number 2 choice.
Okay, so my number 2 choice of 2020. And this is kind of separate though, because like it would be kind of funny to do a weird little like segment of trying to get a seance in here and try to see what happens. Let's see what, like, one of these nights we'll kill the lights, hire a medium, and we'll get our Blair Witch on. I don't know, but anyway,
or Billy Witch.
the doctor.com on the Blair Witch. So anyway, one of my favorite things
that came slowly loses meaning.
But segueing into that, as Greg mentioned, one of my favorite things to come out is a game called Phasmophobia. And if you haven't heard about it, it's something that started out, it's blown the fuck up, basically. It's like one of the top played, I think, co-op horror games right now, which actually for 2020 for like gaming and stuff, horror games, especially co-op horror and single player horror games, have fucking just skyrocketed. There's so much more content being put out, more games. But Phasmophobia takes a really different spin on it. Like there's been a lot of co-op horror games where you're got ghosts and shit and stuff, and you got to either hide, survive from a killer, whether you can interact with weapons or you just got to, dodge and complete objectives, whatever, kind of like Dead by Daylight. But Phasmophobia takes a very different stance at it. Basically, the premise of the game is you are a paranormal investigator, and it's all online, so you can have up to four players total. And you go to these random locations. Basically your whole job is you go to these houses, these locations, and you're investigating a ghost and to find out what the fuck is going on there. And it's really great because it's very open-ended. Like there's no time limit that I'm aware of. I mean, I've been in a session for fucking forever. It's VR, which I haven't got to play with, but one of these days I'll get a VR and stream VR Phasmophobia. But it takes a lot of like, if you watch like Ghost Hunter shows and shit, like EMP, like they deploy all of those devices in games. So you need to find out where it's at. You need to like use EMP, temperature, find different, clues to see where the haunting's at. Then you need to set up cameras and watch to see, because you'll have like a book that, it's pretty much your menu and stuff. You'll go through it. It'll tell you like what it'll tell you it's like I'm sorry, my brain just went dead. It pretty much goes over like what type of ghost as a reference manual. At the very end of it, you input the clues that you have available that you found. And then you make a guess what the ghost is. If you're right, you get more money. If you're wrong, you don't get as much money. Or you just fucking die because you can't. So it's not like you're going in there and you can just like kill the ghost, but there are deterrents depending on what type of spirit it is, because it goes anywhere from a spirit to a fucking demon, Oni, Yuri, Poltergeist. Oh my God, there's more, like a mare, and they all have their different interactions. They have different ways of how to get them to come out, how to interact with them. And it's all fucking based on your voice. Your mic is on all the time. I didn't know it was on all the time, but it's on all the time, even if it's muted. The ghosts respond to you. They have keywords that trigger them. If you played for a while, you know what those words are, and it's fine. And certain ghosts react if you're alone or if you're with people. And if you're alone, you have to be alone with the lights out, and you have to talk to it, whether you find a Ouija board, spirit box to wait for a response, whatever. And but it responds to your voice. And when you trigger a haunt, because there'll be times, depending on how aggressive the ghost, what difficulty you're at, it's like stages. It'll kind of like start appearing, and then you'll hear like the heartbeat, like, oh my God, but it's just appearing. It's not trying to hunt you yet. When it hunts you, basically you got to find the nearest fucking thing that you can hide in, close the door, and almost Blair Witch by looking into a corner, hoping to God that you have push to talk on your mic. So hopefully nothing's coming through and you don't have a cat screaming in the background, which has gotten me killed before with our Maine Coon that likes to scream, because if it hears it, the mic pick up, it'll come for you. And the ghost very much picks it targets people. So some of them like to tunnel certain people and some don't. You can easily walk into something like, what up, ghost, you motherfucking bitch, and blah, blah, blah. And certain keywords will piss off the ghost. So it's such a cool, fun concept that they're still developing. I think it's still in alpha. And they're always adding stuff. They just added a prison level. I have an idea based off of this, is building a parody TV show, because this is a perfect platform for that, because it's all open-ended. From where you start the truck, you're given like, objectives to do for more money, but really the goal is to find the ghost, figure out what it is, and get the fuck out of there. As of yet, there's no way to really cleanse the ghost. You have crucifixes and stuff you can toss down to like stop it from trying to hunt you down. Yeah. It gives it a cooldown for a while, but it's so great because I've had such fun interactions just playing with random play groups and stuff like that, that it's going to be perfect for a fucking parody TV show. So look out for 2021 Untitled Welcome to Frankenstein House's TV Ghost Hunting parody show. It could be very well. We could end up doing seasons of it, or we just do a pilot and decide we absolutely fucking hate it and we are terrible at it. But either way, anyone watching who doesn't own this game should get it. It's fun. It's not, I wouldn't say there's a lot of jump scares to speak of, but once you play it a bunch, you get used to shit, but it still, keeps you on edge. But they've been kind of updating character models and shit, so now you get weird, like grudge-like people crawling because they have Onis. They have djinns in the game that will fucking kill you. They have a lot of cool shit in there, and they're like updating models. And my only criticism of the game is that you can't really run in it. So when you're walking, you hold shift, you literally move 0.1 faster, and so you're not really running. Because I would love to see this game develop more with better character mechanics, to where it's rendered a bit better, more 3D, you have more character control and movement. But I have these visions of like running down a fucking hallway at a high school while a fucking ghost is coming after you, and you're full sprint trying to either get out of the building, because it usually can't follow you outside the building. I say usually because I've heard tale of people getting killed probably due to bugs, but just like fucking like running out of there and shit. Like and more jump scares. I want to see more, like, I want it to be more terrifying than this. It's already pretty scary, but once you get used to it, you get a little desensitized to it. It's still fun, still suspenseful, but I want it to make people shit their pants. Let's throw PT into that and really just make a co-op PT. Fucking, you got to go find these ghosts and shit. It seems fun. Greg hasn't played it yet, so at some point.
I haven't gotten into it. I've downloaded it. I've not had the chance to boot it up yet, but maybe some point over this weekend I'll take a little look and see what happens.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Based off the entries of a lot of the ghosts in there, like especially with the demon. It does mention possession, but it's not in the game. But I would be really interested in seeing them have a possession mechanic with the demons, to where you have to like exercise like one of your team members.
Yeah.
And that would be pretty fucking cool. But it seems to have a lot of potential based off how popular it's gotten, and I'm sure they've made an insane amount of money off of it at this point. Like, I'm really hoping the devs like take that and they like really put it back into the game to make it a super functioning horror co-op, because that's something we've been needing in the horror co-op genre. We have stuff like Dead by Daylight, which has been out for years, which isn't bad, but I like just to be able to take the role of a paranormal investigator, and you're not there to like kill the ghost. You're there to investigate, find out, report back. And it's like the game is like that's what your job is. So it pays you out depending on how well you do. And you use that money to buy better equipment and hopefully unlock that proton pack. I want the Dan Aykroyd character. So it's a fun game. So I'm really excited to see Greg play it. Like we'll try sometime, maybe over the weekend or something. We'll see if we can host a lobby and check it out and try it and see how it goes. It's going to be a great time no matter what.
So we'll figure this out, but for anybody who's not been keeping track of what we've been complaining about is that since I moved to the UK a couple of months ago, I just moved into an apartment that is running off of an ADSL connection, which, if you are unfamiliar with, is basically I'm getting my internet through the phone line.
Is two steps away from the AOL startup.
Yeah, it is 2003 era internet in the house. It is like I have a lot of problems with upload. It's gonna be, yeah. I feel like if I get 2003 level internet transfer, I should be going on Fark. I should be like up on like somethingawful.com's forums.
Get your ICQ booted up. Let's really get Kazaa going. I mean, if you can LimeWire some shit, then I mean, you should be able. I've done less with.
I'm going to post the Boondock Saints prayer thing into my AIM away message.
We need to find MSN Messenger source code and revive that. And no, we need to go deeper. Like Yahoo's was shittier. Let's go with AOL. I was there when they shut down AIM. I logged in for the first time in probably 15 fucking years. Amazed that I still remembered my AIM. I mean, yeah, I mean, it is. Yeah.
Those were the days where the internet was indeed edgy. Like,
yeah, you want to talk about shit posting, and today, like pre-internet, like not pre-internet, but like Facebook and shit with AOL chat rooms and Yahoo chat rooms and ICQ. And
were you ever in the situation where you went to like somebody's party and you realized their computer is on, so you like registered an AIM screen name that was like Liz's party and just started like, hey, why aren't she here, man?
It sounds like a very specific story of your life that we now need to dedicate at least 10 minutes to go into, because I feel like there's a deeper story here. Who the fuck?
It's like being the guy who would show, like, thinking I was so much better than the people who didn't come to the party but were sitting online. However, I just went to this party and sat online. This is like just like a level of like sad internet nerd that pre-phone was its own thing, and now that we're all just like,
it's like you're memeing before memeing.
All the time. It doesn't really translate anymore.
Yeah, trying to remember times of like not having like your phone or the internet so readily available. Jesus Christ! Like
I'm gonna bring my it's a digital camera, but it's not on my phone. I'm gonna bring it to the party, and then I'm gonna upload all the fucking photos to LiveJournal. You remember LiveJournal before Vladimir Putin bought it?
I did not know.
No,
I think some. I was gonna say I was
like a Russian. It's a Russian company, but it's still like everybody. Like the only people who use LiveJournal regularly are Russians and George R.R. Martin, and that's it.
That doesn't surprise me, considering like the history of LiveJournal and what I remember of LiveJournal. I figured that would happen. Or you could talk about like, was it Melodramatic or whatever that site was? Oh, my Melodramatica or whatever. There's so many fucking edgy ass fucking sites out there like Hazaroth for fucking. There's so much shit, so much that I'm like getting flashbacks of just fucking like, oh my god, this is like late 90s, early 2000s shit. Like,
I miss those early social media websites. Like
they were great.
Okay, so I have a couple friends who met on Makeout Club. Do you remember Makeout Club?
Yes. They were probably the only people that used it.
They've been married almost like 15 years. Like, it's amazing.
Why hasn't Makeout Club just fucking cash in on that? Like, these guys have been together 15 fucking years. Come back. This is Tinder, pre-Tinder, except more awkward.
Yeah, you're telling everybody about your favorite Scrams records. Remember when people talked about Scrams? Do you know Scrams?
No. What the fuck was Scrams?
All right, so like when all the what were they called? Like all the bands who were like From Autumn to Ashes, and when all those bands like started making it big, all the bands who were like more like Sasha and Orchid, like the early screamo bands. So like all the early screamo bands needed a new thing to call themselves because like, when screamo, like when Taking Back Sunday are calling themselves screamo, you're not screamo anymore.
Who the fuck was it that I was talking to the other day that brought up screamo? And I'm like, screamo doesn't fucking exist anymore. like who the fuck makes screamo? If you're an adult making screamo right now, you need to move out of your parents' basement.
Well, probably not anymore. There was a revival of it like 2 years ago, but I think all those bands have moved on.
That shit, like, we're just stepping stone, like, genres, like, almost like what punk was supposed to be, but, like, worse. Way worse. Like, fucking, we got screamo that eventually evolved into nothing because fuck screamo. Wasn't screamo came out of what, like emo and hardcore, like some weird like mashup bullshit?
There was so like that's the deal. It's like the original screamo, it was sort of like it was like hardcore of the like sort of like early, or sorry, not early, like late 1990s, like Pacific Northwest. Like if you're into like the Mukilteo Fairies or like the Head the Prophet.
Yeah.
Like super chaotic hardcore stuff mixed with a little bit of emo. And I think like when the screamo hit mainstream, it was like, kind of like pop rock with some screams in the chorus.
Yeah.
All those bands like rebranded, or I don't think that they wanted to rebrand, but like their fandoms rebranded them to like Skramz, SKRAMZ Skramz.
Oh, I recognize that now because I was like seeing their Skramz, and I'm like, oh, with the K and the Z, yeah, that was like that era of music. Like my brothers got super into, and there's only a few things that kind of caught my attention, and it was, like, what was it, like Atreyu, just for the simple, I own like the first two records on vinyl, nostalgia. And like it was, it was like, oh, this wasn't that bad. Or like Bleeding Through's first album, they used the fucking Boondock Saints quote in it as like the only like good thing, but I don't like it anymore because I also watched the documentary they put out. And it's so cringy. It's so bad. Did you watch the fucking documentary?
Yeah.
He's like crying the entire fucking documentary.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
Yeah. It's funny. Like, I feel like now I feel more like before I was like, yeah, Troy Duffy's a dick. And now I'm like, Troy Duffy's a dick, but he was also like the first person to say fuck you to Harvey Weinstein. So like you gotta give him that.
Yeah. Troy Duffy. Why did you make Boondock Saints 2?
Oh god.
30 minutes of lathering ass in the shower. The first 45 minutes of that movie is the most bullshit fan service I've ever seen in my life until you get to the story of their dad. And then I feel like the movie just clicks and it's great after that. Just once it clicks, and if you ignore the fucking William Dafoe stand-in, who I didn't like, she's a good actress. I've seen her in stuff I liked. I didn't like her in Dexter, and I really didn't fucking like her in this movie because it was just, it was bad. It was so bad. Like,
yeah, I feel like they did all their shit that they pulled with like trying to set up a sequel that never happened. Like I
yeah,
hate when movies do that. Like I absolutely hate it. Like you got the opportunity to do a number two, to a number two. You really did a number two, Troy Duffy.
number one. I order you number two. Was it number one? I order you to take a number two.
Yeah, you got an opportunity to make a second movie. Like make a movie with a beginning, a middle, and the end. It's fine if it carries on from the first one, but don't assume you're getting movie number 3 because there's no guarantee that's going to happen.
Yeah, make your movie self-contained unless you're like Peter Jackson and you get to make like remakes of Ferngully and Dances with Wolves. And apparently there's more of those fucking atrocious pieces of shit coming out, and it feels pretty dated considering like how popular Avatar was versus how not it is now.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't. I never saw the original Avatar. I don't know if I'm gonna bother seeing seeing it now or seeing any of the sequels. Like I just nothing about that movie really interested me. I'm actually probably more likely to see James Cameron's like nature documentaries just because
Yeah.
like apparently he invented like he like or not invented but he hired people to invent like entirely new versions of cameras to be able to film that far underwater. And it's like I'm actually legitimately interested in seeing some of that rather than like CGI Smurf people
Or
and
like it's like Ferngully minus Tim Curry and like Robin Williams and anything that's
never wanna minus Tim Curry from anything. That's the only thing the Rocky Horror remake got right is they put Tim Curry back in.
Yeah, I'm so mad because I missed most of that live stream because I got the timer on. So did you watch the Rocky Horror live stream?
I watched it after the fact. I didn't watch the
I haven't watched it. I got to find it after the fact. But I tuned in right when they brought Tim Curry out at the end, and he was talking.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god, it's Tim! And I feel such an amazing actor, and it sucks. But I mean, he has a great attitude about it, though. You see his Twitter, like fucking the random shit he'll post.
Oh no, I got to check that out then.
Oh my god, what was it? There's that one meme they posted that got really popular of like somebody on Twitter tag, I wonder what Tim Curry's up to or something like that, and he responds with like, "Oh, just sitting around the house eating Three Musketeers, going one for me, all for me," and like cackling and shit, and fucking like he was in Three Musketeers. Like he was in Three Musketeers. He was wait, yeah, wasn't he? Or am I thinking of? It's not Alan Rickman. It was Tim Curry. He was a cardinal.
Yeah. Alan Rickman was in Robin Hood.
Yeah, he was Robin Hood. Tim Curry was the cardinal and Three Musketeers.
Yeah.
But like, just fucking like, and Anthony Hopkins wilding out with random funny ass videos on Twitter. Like, that's the shit we need to see, not like the shit we've been seeing. Anyway,
I'm gonna jump forward to my third pick, which is James Tinian's Batman. So I don't know if you or anybody who's watching this has been keeping up with the Batman comics in DC, but Batman has been in sad sack land for quite a while. He has there was a whole arc where an alternate universe version of his dad came back.
Yeah, I heard something about that.
He was going to get married to Catwoman, and then he didn't get married, and then he was sad for a while, and then Bane took over Gotham City, and he was sad for a while. And it was really, really like there was a lot of ideas that were kind of cool, and an execution which was just an utter face plant. So after that guy left the title, the guy who was writing that, they got a new guy in named James Tinian the Fourth, and he is He's written some Batman stuff before. He did a lot of Batwoman stuff. He did a lot of like he was working on Detective Comics where he was doing Batman, but Batman is part of like a team. And now he's doing like Batman, like straight up the Batman title. He started off with doing this like strange story harkening back to early Batman, where there is a character who was effectively like the mentor of villains called the Designer, and he is the guy who helped he helped the Penguin get amass the riches that he did, and he helped the Riddler figure out or like test out a lot of his logic stuff. And then he decided he was going to try to help the Joker become the best, like because like when the Joker first approached him, the Joker was still like, I'm a crazy clown villain. And it's like, I'm gonna help you figure out all of your death traps and all of your like things. And then he realized, like, as the Joker was bouncing ideas off of him, it's like, this is the most dangerous human being on the planet, and I need to get rid of him. Unfortunately, the Joker manages to get the better of him, and so this supervillain called the Designer is like trying to right the wrongs of accidentally creating the Joker.
Oh my god, I'm gonna have to read that. Holy shit,
Yeah.
that sounds really cool. Because I was like, that's such a great premise anyway. To like, because for the most part, I mean, I'm sure that I don't know if they've gotten into like this deep before with that. Because from what I recall, from most Batman basically villains, they have their origin stories, but like, because you fall in a vat of fucking acid doesn't mean all of a sudden fucking, managing a fucking team or anything like that, or shit like that.
Yeah.
So it's really a cool concept that they're a
It does.
character out there that
It, he also brings in other characters. Like there's a character called the Underbroker, which is basically like the financier of supervillains.
it's
Like,
fucking
you know,
cool.
so like, when a supervillain first starts out and they're like, I'm gonna rob this bank. It's like, well, how are you going to buy all those shark themed grenades that you're gonna need to,
This is
to
getting to
rob the
almost
bank
like
and stuff like that?
Calamitous
And it's like,
intent.
yeah, he'll
Like,
invest in a
Calamitous
supervillain.
intent was doing this way longer with the fucking that's oh my god, that's fucking cool.
Stuff like that. But yeah, it went from that. It went to a story arc called the Joker War, where it's effectively the Joker basically amasses a large enough gang to take over large parts of Gotham City while the police are desperately trying to fight him. In the midst of this, in DC continuity, like DC Comics continuity, and I'm not spoiling anything because this happened like 3 or 4 years ago, but the Joker's effectively figured out that Bruce Wayne is Batman. And rather than be like, go out on TV and say Bruce Wayne is Batman, it's like, oh, this is this fun little joke you and I have between us, and I'm going to mess with you because of it.
And that
So,
makes perfect sense for the Joker. Like that's
yeah,
so
so he sets up this whole trap to like capture, but he has to like capture Batman in the movie theater where his parents died, and just like all this stuff. And like he starts using this new version of Joker gas, and this is where it gets into like the horror part of it that starts bringing back all of these horrible memories. So he has like, you know, his images of his parents. He brings back Batman's parents and a lot of like dead people from Gotham and people who basically anybody who Batman has failed, he reanimates their corpse with a new
cool.
version of
Jason
Joker.
Todd's fucking back.
Yeah, and he brings basically he uses this hallucinogenic that makes because in the current continuity Alfred's dead, so
Oh shit.
Bruce is like hallucinating like a dead Alfred with a broken neck, and
Fuck.
yeah, so like that's
Really good as a DC animated movie. Like or even like Jesus.
yeah, and so like now the current arc after Joker War is Batman is broke,
Oh,
so
like
like
broke or like
broke. So like because the Joker figured out Bruce Wayne is Batman and used the services of this guy, the Underbroker, to basically steal all of Bruce Wayne's fortune. Obviously, like that didn't last because we're in the modern era and people trace where money goes, but also Also the federal government is now watching Bruce Wayne's, bank account, so he can no longer like buy giant bat themed airplanes and shit like that. So Batman as a concept has no money, because Bruce can't use any of his money for Batman. So it's like Bruce is effectively in like Daredevil mode, where he has to like figure out how to fight crime with his fists. And in the middle of that, he is being like taunted by a guy called the Ghostmaker, who is, while Bruce was doing his like world travel to try to figure out how to become the best fighter to save Gotham City, he would always run into these other people who were also trying to do the same thing, but for their own reasons. And this guy, the Ghostmaker, so he's
Same
basically
thing in like Gotham, or just the same thing wherever the fuck they're from?
wherever the fuck they're from. So this guy, it's suggested he's somewhere from some possibly an Asian country, possibly somewhere in the Middle East. They never show his face, and they never show him out of like a full form-fitting costume.
Yeah.
But it's basically a guy who is doing the same things that Bruce was, but without any kind of like moral code behind it. They just decide, I'm going to fight crime because it's fun. I'm going to learn how to do all these things. And so now they're trying to like show him up because they have all of this technology and all this power. And he's just like, I got to figure out how to use like a rope to swing on this signpost and punch a guy.
Oh man, without the plot armor of my credit card,
Yeah.
I really gotta, and that's kind of cool too, because it really forces like, the whole joke of, oh, without like money, who would Tony Stark or Batman be? And especially like Batman. But like Batman also went through and like learned how to be a badass. But if this is at the point of where this is like he's spent years as Batman, we're using his money to buy shit. I mean, why work smart, not hard? And so it's a really interesting concept to see like, okay, without the money, what the fuck are you gonna do?
Yeah, and like Tony Stark could like build an Iron Man costume out of like a broken down Chevrolet Camaro. The Batman doesn't, like Bruce Wayne doesn't have the same option with Batman, because like all of his shit has been like gadgets and the ability to protect himself, and now all of this has kind of gone away from him.
He's a very different level of tech knowledge than like Tony Stark does. And that's a bit of an unfair comparison between, but like, rich, I guess Green Arrow could have been another one, because I mean, he's another rich dude that, hey, here's, now you know how to use the bow and arrow, have fun.
Yeah, and Green Arrow is interesting because like that always when you hear the criticism of Batman, it's like, well, why didn't he use all of his money to, why doesn't he just use his money to help Gotham City? And it's like, well, Green Arrow does do that, and it doesn't help.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah, you just get weird. The people they fight, and that's always been kind of my issue. Has been like, it would have like, all right, so like Bruce Wayne using his money to help social services in Gotham City would have probably made like people like lower level criminals not happen. But once you get into like things like the Court of Owls, where it's like a multi-generational wealth-based conspiracy, where they have like ninja zombies, or like Ra's al Ghul, who is sorry, Ra's al Ghul, I think it's actually pronounced, who's like a dude who wants
They
to
always change the pronunciation of that in like any movie and show. Like they always like race or just fucking. I'm like, God damn.
I think it is supposed to be Ra's al Ghul.
That's how I always thought it was Ra's al Ghul, but people say race, and I'm like, where the fuck are you getting the extra letter?
I think it was race in the animated series, and I think that's why I internalized it. But yeah, Ra's al Ghul would have probably attacked Gotham whether or not there was a Batman in it.
Yeah. But they had plans. Like most of these had like things inner working like long before Bruce Wayne was even conceived or like a thought. So like Batman, like I mean, it was going to happen whether or not. So it does get annoying. People are like, why did you use money to money? Because that's not how capitalism works.
Yeah, James Tinian's Batman. I think you can start at the beginning of the designer arc, and I think that'd be the best place to jump in. I'll figure out. Let me see here.
Yeah, I need to check that out for sure, because that sounds really awesome.
Yeah, so his Let me just see here. So you can start with so Batman Volume 1. They're dark designs. If you're gonna be looking at it in trade, it's called
Okay,
they're dark designs.
cool.
And let me see if it tells me. Yeah, and it collects it. So his run, if you want to read the single issues, it starts with Batman 85.
Okay, I'll just get the volume.
Yeah,
It's probably on the things that we use to read the comics on. So,
yeah.
but
And yeah, Jorge Jimenez is one of the main artists on this, and he is a fantastic artist. I mean, they're everybody who's been working on it has been amazing, but certainly Jorge Jimenez.
hell
Yeah, you wanna pull up your number 3?
yes. So, yeah. So speaking of like phasmophobia, like one of my favorite things that came out of 2020 was Truth Seekers with like Nick Frost and
I have not. So I haven't seen this yet. Tell me about this.
Oh, so it's basically oh god, what's a good way to explain this? So it's I almost thought it was like Edgar Wright had something to do with it because Nick Frost and Simon Pegg don't very often do a bunch of shit without him because I mean those are like that's like the best team ever, those that entire cast. But it it kind of takes a little more. It's like a comedy, but it takes kind of a more serious tone with Nick Frost being the main character. Simon Pegg kind of plays his eccentric boss, who's just he's really great as the supporting character that you see every so often because it's just every time they show him, he's dealing with something or something that's just like, what the fuck is going on and shit. And he has like his own little story that's running behind all of this. And basically, it's they're working for like I would say like it's like a Best Buy kind of like they're a tech company, so probably like maybe a Google Best Buy because he's kind of like this tech that goes out to people's houses like Geek Squad, but the way they present it feels more like almost Amazon, kind of like a higher tier because he's like reporting directly to like the owner of this company who's obviously very fucking rich, and so throughout his job and stuff, he's kind of caught on to like there's like some supernatural thing element that he's kind of encountered. So he's been making these YouTube videos called The Truth Seeker. And like prior, to all this, they're all like very like it's very low grade, very obviously not like scary shit. It's you can tell it's just some dude trying to like he's really passionate about it, but like he's not running into anything that's supernatural. He's like going to these like this is like a very famous for this, but nothing happens basically. Well, during a call, shit starts happening, during a visit. So it's kind of like he starts taking that, this experience, this stuff he's been researching into and actually applying it towards these, supernatural settings with this new person who just started working for him, who's his partner. And it's just fucking goes from there. Like I'm trying really hard to not like give away a fuck ton of spoilers because it's really hard to talk about it without going into like, oh, this is all the, but it's on the surface. It looks like it's kind of like paranormal kind of a hunter, but it's a lot deeper than that. It actually explores a lot of different things inside of that. And it's a lot more deeper than just, oh, there's a ghost. There's shit going on behind it that has a greater picture. So, oh, I guess it's a broadband company called Smile. So it's like a broadband company. So like Comcast, I guess would be a better way to describe it. So it's I enjoyed the hell out of it. Like I thought it was great. I forgot his partner's named Elton John. So there's a lot of fun stuff. But it's Malcolm McDowell's his dad, who's this fucking. Oh my God, I'm like having to like reading the notes I had written. I'm like, oh yeah, because I watched this a few months back. I'm like, this is so fucking good. Like Malcolm McDowell's his dad, and it's Malcolm McDowell as an old man that's just fucking being Malcolm McDowell, and it's he's fucking great in it. God damn it, I'm trying not to give away some spoiler. There's a lot more to it than like like Ghost. So it seems to be more wrapped up in a very bigger picture thing that's happening. And it kind of veers into like really like bigger territory than that. So It's worth watching. That's probably like the worst, shittiest review anyone's ever heard of this show. But for the life of me, I can only remember from the show big spoilers of like, oh, if I say this, then like, why would you watch the show at this point? So it just came out. It's on Amazon. Watch it. I like it. I mean, for like being, kind of based off like I'm like, paranormal investigator. It's really well done. And I'm a big fan of Nick Frost and Simon Pegg. Have been for years. It's really cool to see Nick Frost in more. And I know he's been in a lot of more leading roles, but it's really cool to see more stuff where he's more of the focus versus like Simon Pegg overshadowing with some other stuff they've been in.
Yeah.
Like,
I really like and I'm looking at trying to find it right now. There was a show he was in called Enter the Badlands that I thought he was amazing in.
oh shit. I've been meaning to watch that.
It's so good. Like it's basically like a post-apocalyptic, vaguely sci-fi, but sort of like adventure update of like the Chinese like legend of the Monkey King.
Oh
Or if
shit.
you watch like I don't know if you ever watched the 1970s like monkey TV show, but it's basically like all of these sort of all of these. So it's based off of like this legend of the Monkey King and all the different like there've been different versions of it over the years, whether they've been like they're actually playing the Monkey King as a monkey or as like that's the euphemism we're using for his fighting style and shit like that. But they're it's a martial arts um TV show set in like a post-apocalyptic Mad Max style future. Like it's really really freaking cool.
I remember seeing the trailers and stuff and being like, I need to watch this, especially when the first season came out. I remember seeing like Nick Frost was in it. I don't know if he was in it since season 1, right? I think that's
I
mine of
think
what
season two
I remember seeing
maybe.
some advertisement where he was in it. I'm like, oh shit, I really need to watch this because this sounds right up my alleyway. And I just haven't yet. So I need to jump on that.
Yeah, it's very very good. I thoroughly recommend checking that out too. But yeah, if you I will check out Truth Seekers because that sounds like an interesting show.
I think you'd dig it a lot. It's like I said, it's really hard because like there's so much that starts happening that's just spoiler after spoiler after spoiler, and it kind of just starts kicking off after like the first episode or two. So it's worth watching. I've been rewatching Spaced because I love Edgar Wright. Like Spaced is, oh my god, I fucking love Spaced. The fucking their friend oh god, what's his name?
Tires.
The one that did too many drugs, and so like he
Tires.
starts, where he starts like hearing things, like starts like dancing and groove. Like I'm just like laughing my ass off. Like,
Yeah, I just saw that actor in Come to Daddy pretty recently. Have you seen that movie?
no, come to daddy.
Yeah, so it's Elijah Wood playing like this like hipster like mid-30s dude who tries to like reconnect with his birth father. Goes over to his house and realizes he might be caught up in something that like he might be caught up in something he didn't realize.
Oh
But
yeah,
it's a really really, really good movie.
shit. I think I've seen the title, but I haven't. I haven't. I don't think I've really looked and see what this was about. So I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, but
I've
yeah,
been.
it sort of tries to sell itself as a horror movie, but it's more of like a 90s caper style movie. Like it's one of those like The Salton Sea or like the Big Hit type movies.
I love the Big Hit. I fucking
Yeah.
love the Big Hit. I made Courtney watch that a while back because it's the kind of movie you really got to make people watch.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not one that if you've seen it and like it's like fuck yeah, I'll watch that. Like once a year I'll watch it because it's so bad, it's so good. And if Lou Diamond Phillips wasn't in that movie, it'd be worse. But Lou Diamond Phillips, yeah,
Lou. The one where it had oh god, the dude who was like
the one that just jerks off all the time now.
Yeah.
He's never jerked off. So he did it like one night. He's like in his 30s or something. And he's sitting, he's like, whatever, sleeping again. I could just jerk off because I guess he's just never done it. So there's scenes of him like just shooting the hand exercise. Oh, I'm gonna treat you so good to near in for a treat.
Pictures on the wall of his like adult video store as like customer of the month and shit.
It's so good, but like all the characters are really good. It's hard to say without Lou Diamond Phillips to be terrible because everyone in that movie is really good. Like they're really good for what they are. It's a very generic 90s kind of a black comedy, like caper kind of a thing. But it almost feels like it's really just I would almost consider it's really just a spoof of that, because it's almost, it feels like the director was trying to take himself kind of seriously with it, but the way it comes off, I don't know. It feels like it's more like a spoof of caper movies, because it's just so, and Marky Mark's fucking in it, and he's, shitty Marky Mark, but he's still, fresh out of the Funky Bunch. And but Lou Diamond Phillips steals the show, like fucking. Remember what I said about my boat? I lied. You ain't getting shit. I say that constantly. Like me and Tommy, like fucking watch that all the time. So constantly, just out of nowhere, yo, remember what I said about my boat? The movie is insanely quotable. Like his character is phenomenal. But anyway.
All right, so those are our main points for the year. Unless you have anything else to add about like any other cool shit that you saw.
Well, it was a maybe, because I don't know how many fans there are, and there should be. But like the Supernatural finale finally happened, where they tied like 15 years, and it's a show that I kind of almost wish I would have started watching when it was in its heyday, because it sounds like the cons would have been really fun to go to, but like. It was when I got into probably like halfway through its run that I started really getting into it. And like, it started out like, oh, I'm bored on Netflix. Like, this is okay. This is okay. And once you get past like the first, I don't know, couple seasons where they kind of start getting away from the really like tropey, shitty humor, and you start really getting into like all the characters and stuff, it becomes like it's a really good fucking universe and a really good show. And the way they tied it, finally ended it, makes sense. I didn't have any problems with it. Like, like Game of Thrones, where I was just like, cool, I just wasted like 9 years of my life. So, or however long it's been out. So that's fun. But Supernatural, I mean, it does have scenes where it kind of wanes a little bit, but once you start getting past those first kind of season or so, it's a lot better. I don't know if you've ever watched it.
I watched the pilot and it was like, I'm out. And
yeah, like that.
I couldn't believe that led to like 15 years. But apparently,
you got to get past. Like the first season gets better as you go through it, because it's very WB pretty boy, like almost toxic masculine humor in a way, because of. And they really fixed a lot of that as they progressed, especially when like Sarah Gamble took over as the showrunner, and who did one of my favorite shows, which did that end in 2020? The Magicians, which if you've never seen The Magicians, you need to fucking stop what you're doing and watch The Magicians. Like watch it.
Stop this podcast right now.
All right, I'll put it on. But no, you should watch it. It's amazing. Season 4, the finale of season 4 it's so good. Like, and it's a show that I describe as, if you took Harry Potter, got rid of the transphobia, made it queer as hell, and made it for adults, that's literally what it is. It's very, very based, even though it's magic based, it's dealing with very real world shit, like very some intense topics and stuff. And it's queer as hell. They explore a lot of different things, and it's fucking really good. And I can't say anything about season 4 because it spoils it, but they ends after season 5. And after you see season 4 and stuff, you realize, okay, because I was really like, what's season 5 going to be like? And I actually haven't like finished season 5, because it's like, I don't want it to end, because it's really good. Like it's something I think you would actually like a lot. Same with Supernatural. If you kind of like powered through it, because you need to watch them all to really get, because they really reference a lot of stuff from the earlier seasons. It gets better, and the stuff they get into, they get very much into better lore when it comes to better like monsters and stuff, mythology. And then they really get into like more of like a God and demons and Satan and Lucifer and all that. And it's really it ends up being really well done. And I think that'd be something, if you guys are watching fucking Once Upon a Time, you'll watch Supernatural. Like Supernatural is one of those things, because it's like a little rough, but like once it clicks, it's like it really fills that niche of like, wow, this is some good horror, supernatural kind of stuff. But this is also, you can, there's some really good actors they break onto, like Mark Shepard's in it as like for the
Oh,
longest
shit.
time. And Mark Shepard's amazing. They have a lot of really good actors that come in that, have reoccurring roles and some with one-offs. It's fucking amazing. It's one of those I did have to like, I was like, oh my God, this looks like just a shitty like Vampire Diaries, which I've never watched, but just the title alone was like, no, I'm good. like that, like True Blood ended up being like really good. It's like one of those ones that they kind of found their pacing. And it's the same guy that does like what was it he's doing with The Boys, like Eric Kripke.
Oh, okay. Yeah, all right, yeah.
Like he made the show, so he's doing like The Boys, which and Sarah Gamble did went with the Magicians with them, and so it's a lot of that same. That's why Jensen Ackles is actually being brought into season 3 of The Boys as Soldier Boy.
Nice.
And so they're like, I'm feeling like they're going to be having some of those characters or some of those actors kind of coming into The Boys now, because that's pretty much the guy that did Supernatural. So
Awesome.
yeah, so that finale was great. That was a cool way to kind of end it. So anyway,
brings us over to 2021. So 2021, the hopefully going to be the year we all get vaccinated and are able to go to shows again. Maybe there will actually be the Nick Cave tour he's been promising.
I mean, speaking of Nick Cave, what the fuck is up with that wallpaper?
The wallpaper? Oh, his wallpaper. Yeah,
the wallpaper he's trying to sell for like Nick Cave is. I love Nick Cave, and I'll always like him as an artist, but as he gets older, and it's really weird to say this about Nick Cave, how out of touch he's getting with his like fans. I feel like he's getting wildly out of touch with his fans, like especially with like some of the Red Hand Files answers, the wallpaper thing. I'm just like, we don't live in a manor at the fucking coast of fucking, where Australia, wherever the hell he's at. Like
in Brighton, which is right by London, except it's more seasidey.
And I was like, what did you do? It felt like he just asked, like, your rich friend, how much did I sell wallpaper for? How much did you buy your wallpaper for? Like $200. That sounds right. This sounds like something normal, everyday people could afford. And I was really surprised to hear no one bought it, because I figured someone somewhere out there being a Nick Cave fan would have bought it, but no one did. And I almost considered buying it and sending it to you guys, but then it was like, I'm going to spend like $200 some bucks. I don't want on wallpaper. Like, you just put it all up over there, but it's wallpaper and it's work. So
yeah, and I think I'd violate our lease trying to put it up anyway. So
I mean, yeah, but I don't know what's up with him. I think he's just losing touch with his audience.
Yeah,
not musically though. Like, it's just when he talks, it's the whole thing. Like, it's like ruining the mystery of an artist you like by actually learning more about them and realizing how, not that he's not at all, but like how disappointing that could be. So, and I'm not saying he's really disappointed me, but I feel like I don't think he's ever going to get Morrissey level, but I think with how, I don't think he's nowhere near Morrissey level of like, I'm old ranting about shit to get attention. I just think he gets up his own ass a few times, and he just needs to be pulled back out. And it seems like that's just what needs to happen. He just needs to get pulled out of his ass occasionally. But
and that's, I mean, it's interesting to look at that, because it's sort of on a musical, like on a musical perspective. I feel like, and this, I can say this for both Morrissey and Nick Cave, I feel like they're both making like legitimately interesting music. And in fact, I think they are making legitimately interesting music in a world where like they incentivize not doing that. And like, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, a lot of these sort of like big public statements. And I guess like we were all in kind of in that world now where, I guess like Morrissey doesn't really do it, like, but Nick Cave has like his newsletter, which I know a lot of people are not big fans of the newsletter, and his sort of like, unfiltered opinion out into the world, and how he,
and I'm a bad fan because I haven't sat down and kept up on any of it. Like I did at first, and I'll like usually I'll have like friends that are fans are like, oh, did you read this one? Or all checking in occasionally. So I haven't sat and read each one, but they're at least not at first I was, but after a while, obviously I'm like, well, this is, there's a lot here. So we'll,
Some of it's fun. Like he was talking about Nocturama, and it's like, it's like, can you explain what you were trying to do with Nocturama? And he was sort of like, I apologize if you were disappointed with Nocturama. I was also disappointed, although I still enjoy some of the songs on there. It's interesting though. Many artists' entire catalog is nothing but Nocturamas, but I only have the one.
I know. I never, and I guess I've listened to Nocturama, and I guess I should re-listen to it because when I went through, like, I'll go through his discography. If I'm not putting it on shuffle, I'll go through. I'm gonna start here and just listen to like every so often. But like, I can't think of what the fuck the issue with Nocturama was off the top of my head, or why so many people were just like, because I remember when I first heard it, and I guess I should just hit play and listen to it again recently. But there was nothing about it. I recall being like, wow, this was dog shit. It was more like, this is the album Blixa left, or yeah, I think that was the one he left. Yeah. Which I mean,
it was a very boring album for a guy like that. It's just, yeah, it didn't try anything new. It didn't, it was boring. It had one of my favorite fucking Nick Cave songs of all time, which is Bring It On. But
it's a good song.
Yeah, in a general, it just was not great. But yeah, so
He needs
moving on to 2021, he's promising a new album, possibly a new tour. So at least there's that.
He needs Mick back. Like I think Mick really grounded his songwriting way more than Warren does. Because like Warren kind of like just, it seems like Warren's like, just do whatever the fuck you want, and Mick is like, nah, we need to like rein this the fuck in. Just with like, especially when he started doing more of his own like writing with the Boatman's Call and after, and I love his ballady stuff. Like it's not Nick Cave unless there's like a fucking ballad, just. But it does hurt, with Blixa and leaving so long ago, and not saying that anything he's put out after has been low quality or anything. I just think, it's like the same opinion I have with like Trent and Atticus. Like, change it up. You've done this thing for so long. And cool, you've done it with Blixa and Mick. Cool. Now you have Warren. Cool. Like, Warren could still be in the band, but write with someone else. Find more inspiration to kind of elevate that sound, or he can continue doing whatever the heck he does, because obviously it's always going to be good. Like, I mean, Ghosteen was fucking great. So
yep, I think yeah, so I'm interested in seeing what he does with the new album. I'm always going to see him on tour, because even if I didn't like the album, the shows are always great. So
yeah, no, the shows are, even if you don't like the next like 5 albums he may put out, like the shows will always be, he could be like 90 years old with the fucking Ivy and he'll still jump, hopefully, onto the fuck off the stage and shit. Like, he's so fucking energetic, and his words can't describe. His shows are truly, it's very magical fucking. It's just, even in nosebleed seats at fucking New York, felt like I was right in front of him the entire time. And being in situations like that with other artists, when I saw Depeche Mode and I wasn't even that far away, I had a hard time connecting with Depeche Mode playing, because I'm just over here and they're there, and the way their sound in the Key Arena sucks and blah, blah, blah. But with like Nick Cave, the entire time I'm like, holy shit, even though I'm up here in these $20 seats, man, it sounds amazing, and I feel everything he's putting out as he's putting it out. So, phenomenal artist. If you don't like him, you should. If you've never listened to him, you should now. And you should Google his mustache and petition to bring it back.
More things that will hopefully happen in 2021. The first one that I have is there has been threatened, promised, offered, and suggested a Hellraiser TV show, done by David Gordon Green and what's the other guy? Danny, what's his face?
Oh,
Danny
no,
McBride. Yeah,
David McBride. It's pretty much from what I've gathered, it's pretty much the team from like the Halloween remakes.
Yeah.
Like they're not the remakes, they're sequels. They're
Yes.
they're
Sort
pretty much
of yeah, soft reboot, as
soft reboot.
Red Letter Media
Like
calls
if there
soft
was a
reboot.
better way to reboot something, that was a really good way to do it because it basically was like fuck everything else after the first movie. Here we go. Sorry,
Yeah.
bust up, but you're not canon anymore. No.
Yeah, and that's honestly, I really liked Halloween 2018. I thought that was a really honestly just I have a soft spot for bad Halloween movies. Like Halloween 6 is one of my favorites just because of how utterly stupid it is. But just Halloween 2018 has been just an utterly delightful movie to be able to watch, and
The
that's
photography of it. Oh my god. That
yeah. And I don't know if they'd take the same approach with Hellraiser, if they do something based off of, it's a sequel to the original movie, or it's a sequel to the original two movies, because I don't think there's really a lot in the second that you'd be that offended by. But
we're just gonna avoid the third one.
let's avoid the third one,
Yeah.
most of the fourth one. Uh,
Really like
specifically where they're in space and there's literally a character called Rimmer.
oh my god, I forgot about that. Oh my god. Oh my god. Holy shit. I completely forgot about that during the Marchand storyline. And here we are in space now. Hell.
There's a woman named Rimmer, possibly Arlene.
Old Rimmer. I caught your little Twitter joke. So
Yeah.
Courtney's never seen Red Dwarf for the most part. So I actually did. We watched everything up until the Promised Land, and
Oh shit, you spent a lot of time with Red Dwarf then.
huge Red Dwarf fan, like big Red Dwarf fan. So like it was funny seeing that. I'm like BSC, SSC.
Yeah. That was
that on
like
your
anytime I had pocket money when I was a kid, I would always go to so there's a newsagent, and there's a bookstore, and at the time like VHS store called W.H. Smith here, and I would just buy these VHSs of Red Dwarf, and they would come with 3 episodes, a half a season on them. So I ended up getting most of the show on VHS.
That's the way to do it.
Up to like season 6 where they were in Starbug only.
Yeah.
The only thing that I was not able to get is season 3, because I guess they classified that entire season as 18, and I think the reason for that was that the polymorph stuff was just like too horrifying.
Oh, it was so good. The poly. I mean, I guess if you're watching it back in season 3 with like 90, yeah, but 96, really, the polymorph was too much.
No, I mean, 19, yeah, that's
I was just saying, have they not watched Ren and Stimpy?
ratings. Like they tried to ban natural born killers, dude. Like yeah.
I mean, I can see why.
Yeah, this is the country that tried to ban The Exorcist. We tried to ban A Clockwork Orange. The only reason, like, we can't do that anymore because it's the future here, and you can get anything on screen.
Out of that way of political thinking, but we're still kind of in it. We're almost out.
Yeah, although Australia's still heavily in it. Australia will ban anything.
Yeah, for a country with the history of Australia, it is shocking the things they banned, and the things they allow is even more shocking. Like if you were to put the things they ban and the things that happen there that are legal, it's you should the switch. It should really just like swap those lists, and that would. I don't know. I've never lived there, but I mean, fucking.
It's kind of fascinating, but yeah, they're a lot less friendly with violence on television, and a lot less friendly with violence in media in general. But yeah, violence in media is going to be the Hellraiser show is hopefully going to be its general premise.
I hear Todd Doug Bradley may be returning, which he should be. I mean, it depends. What are they? I don't know what like I said, I'm still up in the air what the premise is on. Like, are they
they
after
haven't
the
released
movies?
anything.
Are they going to go into like? Because I could see because Doug Bradley's getting up there. I mean, I would assume he's got to be in his 70s, 80s now. He's up there.
Yeah, I think he's approaching 70s.
He's old.
Actually, yeah. So, God, we can get into this at a later date. He was recently as anybody who's watched this a lot is probably surmised. I'm a big professional wrestling fan, and especially when I can find like weird stuff in wrestling. So, did you know that? The clothing brand Blackcraft Cult started a wrestling organization a couple years back?
No, that is interesting considering that like they like didn't they like pretty much just sell out to Hot Topic or some shit?
Did you know that they made Doug Bradley like the president of it, or at least like the on-screen president of it?
So I feel like you have a trailer that you should play now for this. I need to
let me find it because this is some, or at least I'll send it over to you.
Doug Bradley. Oh my God, Doug Bradley, the preacher dies on what the?
Yeah.
Ah! It's fucking Doug Bradley. Holy shit.
So there's like a whole documentary about how it like fell apart and failed. Let me just see here. I don't know if I should say. Let's
because I can. It seems like when you're playing the last time, it gets a little wonky. So
yeah. So let me send you the in the private chat. I'll send you this. That's not what I wanted. Hold on. So this is a documentary about how it failed, which I think will give you a good idea of what it was too. But
oh my God, yes. I am excited for this so much. Oh my God. Alrighty.
Brothers and sisters, will you say that with me tonight? We are the unbelievers. Say it with me. I need to hear you tonight, brothers and sisters. We are the unbelievers. We are. Oh my God! And takes a go ball. Okay, we need to get to the back right now.
Is that who the fuck was that? Zach Baggins?
Look out, Stockade! We're the second row.
One of the announcers looked like fucking Zach Baggins.
Exciting to hear about what was going to potentially be.
So I knew that this was going to be different.
Hold on. I need to. This looked like Zach Baggins, like one of these guys here, and I'm like, this guy, like, maybe it's not, but
we need to get to the back right now.
It kind of looks like him. Never mind. So
I knew there was going to be a different approach.
My bad.
To it, and I was interested. Even though the company was brand new,
Zicky Dice
have a pretty high spot.
Anyway,
on the map, right from the get-go.
Top talent and visuals.
Oh no! There's a shining wizard.
Mariah, she's Paige from WWE's mom. That's
Can you
John
find
Morris.
in this clarification?
WWE
Still
guy now.
wants to do this bit where we cut them open.
It's gonna be Reblood coming out.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's gonna do that, but I wish it would.
Okay.
Oh yeah, they did a thing where like they installed a fucking car battery into that guy's chest.
Told us we had X amount of time. We had planned for this amount of time, and it just did not work out.
I'm not acting. I'm telling you.
It's one of those things. There was too many cooks in the kitchen.
And all the while in the back of my mind, I'm thinking like, this is fucking insane. This is fucked up.
That is going to happen over my dead body. Oh
slit his throat. That was like
Just do the pinhead
I
voice.
over his neck that I actually slit, like, you know, it's like the blade was just sharp enough to slice that.
That was the last time Doug Bradley did anything with wrestling.
I mean, literally,
Pair
yes.
of elbows. Oh my God! Killer Cross is the preacher's chosen son. Men, women, monsters, all here at Black Rock Wrestling.
The HR department of WWE is watching this like, what the fuck?
Yeah, so this I'll put a link in the YouTube comments, but this is honestly it's bizarre what they tried to get going there. It's basically supposed to be a wrestling company started by a satanic priest, and it's utterly ridiculous.
So my
Um,
question is, this came out a couple of years ago. So why didn't you fucking sign up for it? Did you? Did you have
I did not know. So this actually popped up after I had stopped training. So again, for like, and I got to get into this story. Like, I was training to be a professional wrestler for a few years. I separated my shoulder. I had actual AC separation in this shoulder, a type 3, which basically is like a not a full break, but it's a cartilage separation. And yeah, so that hurt for a year and a half. I quit wrestling in the middle of it because I was just so worried I was never going to be able to do anything without pain. And then after that, I got busy with Golden Gardens and all my band shit and never went back to it. But when this popped up, it was very much like this seems like a thing I would do, but B, a thing that's too silly to be a thing I would do.
So I bet somewhere there's a wrestling audition tape that you made that we'll have to air someday. I bet there is.
No, there's undoubtedly some cell phone camera of me getting like, because I was a goon in some guy's entourage for a few shows, so there's
And we got a clip of it right here. No, surprise!
Yeah, there is footage somewhere of me getting rock bottomed, but I'm in like a fucking V for Vendetta Guy Fawkes mask. He probably wouldn't recognize me. But yeah, I wonder if Sonia still has the at least the photo that was taken of it. But anyway, yeah. So Hellraiser TV show hopefully happening 2021. Maybe, we don't know.
Maybe.
What's your number one?
Oh God. Okay, so for mine, mine aren't in order. So I think one of the most things I'm looking forward to in 2021 is Halloween Kills. We kind of touched base on that just a little bit with you mentioning Halloween, and we talked about the production team behind it. But like Halloween Kills, like the first one, as we mentioned before, is fantastic. Of any like sequels that I've seen that were either made years later or most sequels, I thought it was from start to end, it was amazing. I was a big fan of the cinematography. The first shot when you see Michael like walking into the neighborhood and does that long shot of the garage and then does the long shot down the sidewalk, and it's just using these long fucking shots with that amazing music that that's in all of these fucking movies. It's just amazing, and it's, to me, it's like, wow, this is truly what I would go as far to. This is truly like a work of art. This is easily what seems to be a labor of love, because there's so much that was put into it, and it makes sense, especially as a sequel. Like if you go from the first one to this one, I feel like I could watch and I haven't done it yet, and I should watch the first one and then start the sequel right afterwards. And I feel like it would make sense. You got Laurie Strode just fucking was like 40 years later dealing with the PTSD of Michael, but at the same time becoming a fucking more of a badass, because she's been not only training herself but her entire family on how to like prepare themselves for this what if situation. That So like Hellraiser, the next one, because I think they're doing 3 in this. They're Hellraiser Kills. I think they're doing a last
Halloween
one.
Kills.
I'm sorry, Halloween Kills. I'm stuck on Hellraiser. I'm a big Hellraiser fan, and Greg took it from me. So I'll get Halloween Kills. So you just had to have host. Now you had to. But yeah, it's like I'm really like I like Danny McBride. Like, first, I think he's a really, really funny actor. He's a funny comedian. I was a big fan of like Eastbound and Down and some of the stuff he does. But like the writing stuff he does, I know he had I think for a Covenant, I know he was in it, but didn't he also have a production role or something in that too? For Alien Covenant?
In which one?
Alien Covenant. I swear he had more than an actor role. Hold on. I gotta see. But I remember like an Alien Covenant, and I was going like, what the fuck? Let's see. I can't remember if he was just an actor, but there was something I remember seeing, and I don't think it was Covenant, or maybe it was the first Halloween movie, but I saw him in Covenant in a role that wasn't really a comedy role. I'm like, wow, he's like as well, not most comedy actors, but a lot of them, it's like, oh wow, this is something I'd like to see. Where the fuck did my screen go? As I was
when Robin Williams is in like 1 Hour Photo, and you're like, oh shit, Robin Williams can really
yeah,
go outside of the box. Yeah,
exactly. But yeah, so I don't know, like seeing him act like that, then his contribution with like Halloween, I'm really excited to see more of that team working on this, especially with them going into Hellraiser. That's like, this is the team we need for this. Like, give us good teams. Nice.
I mean, it makes more sense than whoever is Michael Bay's friend this week.
Oh my god, fuck Michael Bay, or like Eli Roth, who I will go to the grave talking shit about. Like, I can't. What was that thing I saw the other day that I'm like, I didn't know he did some. Was it a movie or a TV show? I don't remember, but Eli Roth I just don't fucking like him. I never will. I just can't do it.
I like Eli Roth, but I think I understand why people don't.
He's like a fanboy that got to make horror movies, but like won't shut the fuck up about it. Like, and I was really ruined by the whole Tarantino interviews he did with Inglourious Basterds, which the entire time I'm just like, wow, okay, this is a little much, but okay, my dude.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that's a completely fair complaint to have about Eli Roth in general, but I don't know. I appreciate his enthusiasm for the genre. I appreciate him being, that kind of crazy person, and just, I mean, I liked. Oh God, what was the one? The House of the Clock in its walls. Was that the
I
thing
never
he
saw.
recently did?
I don't know. I haven't seen that one though.
Yeah, so that's more of a that's like a kids movie that he did, which is really, really good. Like, he is a talented filmmaker when he actually wants to get out of his sort of like, I really like blood-sucking freaks mode.
Or like, let's reboot Cabin in the Woods, even though no one liked the first one.
Yeah, I don't think he was involved in that reboot actually. I think oh no, Cabin in the Woods. What was it?
I'm sorry, Cabin Fever.
Cabin Fever. Yeah. He wasn't involved in the reboot, I don't think.
I thought he was, because I thought it was a.
I mean, it might.
Maybe I don't know. I thought that it was like a. God damn it! I thought he was involved in that, because what I remember reading it, or at least when I saw it, I felt like, oh, cool. He's like redoing Cabin in the Woods again for a different, whatever. When did this come out? I don't know if he did. Oh, he did the story, and he was written by him.
Well, okay, yeah, but so like the reason for that is that they literally used the same script.
Oh, they just redid.
Yeah.
Oh, they just
redid the whole movie with the same script. So like they had to give him credit, but I don't think he was actually involved in the remake.
Is it better?
No, not at all.
Not even once. It's not like it had a very high bar at all. I mean, it was like the fucking gag they had in it at the end was enough for me that I was like, all right, fuck this. And I get it. It is, looking back on it, because I just now remember that, I'm like, oh yeah, he was more or less. That's to me. It felt now after thinking about that and his Tarantino like obsessive interviews during that, where he would not stay off of Tarantino the entire interview.
Yeah.
Like the fact that he inserted that joke, which is very Tarantino-ish, makes more sense now that I think of it. I'm like, oh, except you kind of inserted it as a weird, I don't know. You know what I'm talking about, right? You know the joke. Yeah, I don't need to say it, but it's there, and it's, I don't know. Where the
Well, from remakes that we remakes that were not good to remakes that I think actually might end up being very good. Here's my next one in the list, which is the Sandman TV show. So Sandman, for anybody watching who is not familiar, is an late 80s, early 90s DC Vertigo comic book, which is written by Neil Gaiman and illustrated by a cast of thousands. The main cover illustrations were done by Dave McKean. It's had everybody from Sam Keith, who later would go on to do the Max, to Jill Thompson. I think Mark Buckingham did some Sandman stuff. Like just some phenomenal artists worked on it. And it's one of the sort of, along with the Watchmen and like Mouse and stuff like that, is one of the sort of the seminal works of comics, and is one of the things, kind of one of the things that is propped up to show like, oh, comic books can be like an art form, or at least American comic books, or Western comic books in this case, since it's written by an Englishman. But it is they are going to be making a Netflix television show based off of this. It's going to be the second adaptation of Sandman to a different medium after the another thing that came out last year, which is the audiobook. Why do we have a second Bond?
I don't. Oh, hold on. Well, my Streamlabs disappeared.
Okay.
And where the fuck am I?
Which Bond do we have? Okay, I'm gonna add one Bond. No.
How's that? Oh my god,
right,
I hear
yeah.
myself.
Can still hear yourself? Okay, so we got two Bonds now. When you start moving independently, I'm going to be very upset. I'm very worried. Oh, I mean, you're in full silence now.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
I'm hearing myself. Hold on, I'm gonna leave and come back. Hold on.
Okay. You're still on. You're muted though. Yo, I can hear you and I can see you.
Okay. So my screen disappeared somewhere, and it's
okay.
Where the fuck? Anyway, go on with your Sandman while I figure this out.
All right, so in 2020, they came out with an audiobook version of Sandman, which effectively, I think it was like the first 3 or so volumes of the book, 3 or so trades, and they effectively did. They did a really good job casting it. They had James McAvoy's Dream. They had a number of different people in there playing the roles, people you probably wouldn't get outside of a pandemic. So they're now they're going to be making a Netflix television show. They're going to be updating it a little bit for the modern era, first of all, and second of all, they've basically confirmed that they're going to be sort of recasting all the roles from so Sandman being based in the DC universe. Not only do they have all these fantasy characters, they also have people like Dr. Destiny, who's a Justice League villain. They have the Martian Manhunter in it. They have John Constantine, who's been played by like Matt Reeves, and Keanu. No, Matt Ross and Keanu Reeves.
Is it? Yeah, I think it is. Hold on. I think that's who it is. Hold on. It's Whatever happened, I know they canceled that TV show pretty quick, but I watched a few of it and I was like, this isn't bad at all. Yeah, Matt Ryan is who it was.
Matt Ryan, yeah. So they brought him into one of the other CW DC shows as the same character. But they basically confirmed the John Constantine probably going to be played by a different guy. Dr. Destiny probably going to be played by a different guy. If they bring Batman into it, which they, there's a few times they've had Batman in the Sandman comics. They're going to be played by different people. The Scarecrow is not going to be played by Cillian Murphy. So they're going to be doing. And Lucifer is not going to be played by the guy who plays Lucifer in the
Why
TV.
the fuck not? Like the Lucifer show is fucking great for one.
Yeah, it is, but it's like they have a specific vision. Like they want Lucifer to look like a cross between David Bowie and like the Lucifer from like
Constantine, the movie.
No, from like the John Milton fucking Paradise Lost Lucifer.
Oh, what the?
Yeah, so they're not going to be connecting it to the NBC and Netflix Lucifer at all.
But kind of what he is on the Netflix, if I remember right. It's kind of how he was in the comics though too. It's been a while since I've read the Lucifer comics though.
The premise is about the same, but the character is very different, and what the character does is very different. Like he's very, it's a lot more lighthearted than the way he is in the comics.
Oh,
he's a fucking like he's like legitimately a terrible It's not even like he's a terrible person. He's a creature created without morality. So like he doesn't even quite understand that he's being a terrible person. Yeah. And whereas like in the NBC TV show, he's just kind of like, haha, I'm a mischievous man.
I am just a very dapper, well-to-do, mischievous character that kind of does fucked up stuff until they got to Netflix where he can actually, do more fucked up stuff.
But in October they started actually filming it. So they apparently have a guy playing Dream of the Endless, the titular Sandman. They have not actually released who that is, so I'm curious to find out who that's going to be because apparently they're filming it right now.
Oh man, I wonder who the fuck that is going to be. Any guesses?
No idea. I presume it's probably not going to be anybody famous. They're probably going to want to have somebody who's sort of an unknown actor or somebody who has maybe. I would presume because it's a UK, it's probably going to be a British person, somebody who has big credits over here, but maybe nothing in the States.
Matt Berry. Boom. There we go. Solved. Yeah. But I don't know. Who would your ideal actor if they had to pick somebody to play?
Let me think. Probably. Honestly, I wouldn't have minded Cumberbatch before all of the recent Cumberbatch shit.
I haven't heard anything about what did he do now?
No. Just like before he was in Doctor Strange, before he did like 8 seasons of Sherlock. Like I feel like you put Cumberbatch in something now, it's the Cumberbatch show.
Yeah.
I feel like early on in his career, he would have been great for it, especially that voice. That voice is kind of gravelly but very posh. I thought that would have been a great voice for Dream.
Yeah, see that.
Yeah, and I think that in general, him or let me think if I can think of anybody else. I know originally Joseph Gordon-Levitt had bought the rights to it and was trying to shop a thing around with him as the Sandman. But I don't know how. Like, I feel like he's kind of got the look that would have worked for it. I don't know about the voice though.
It might have been something because he's always been a great actor, and especially like as he's gotten older, like I really liked him a lot in Inception, and kind of a lot of his stuff after has been pretty good. It's really interesting that he went out and bought it. Obviously, he's a fan, so it would have been really interesting to see what his take on the character would have been. But we'll probably get like, God, who would they cast? Fuck it. They're just going to put John Cena in it. Why not?
Yeah. So in your next pick of 2021, what do you got coming up?
Oh God. So the next one is another movie I'm excited for. It's the Candyman remake, which
All right.
looks like it's going to be really good because it's Jordan Peele's kind of. Let's see what he's producing it. He wrote the screenplay, but they have Nia DaCosta directing it, and I'm really excited to see how this goes down because Candyman has always been traditionally like the horror movie for like the African American community, you know, and having the team behind it doing that. And I hear like Tony Todd's actually going to be in it too, and
Great.
I think from what I've read, I think he's going to be in it, at least from what I've seen so far, or maybe it was just whispers of it. But it was one of those movies I grew up watching, and they did like 3 of them. And
Yeah,
Tony
there
Todd
was
is like the
Day of the
shit.
Dead and Farewell to the Flesh, right?
Yeah,
Those
and they're
two.
not bad. I just felt like with it's kind of lumped in with all those movies that were going on at the time where it kind of stood out on its own, but rebooted with a team behind it that actually gives a shit about it, that cares about the mythology behind it, the premise and stuff. I feel like that's gonna, and it's Jordan fucking Peele doing it. Like, name me one bad thing he's done. Do it
Yeah.
right now. Do it. Name it.
The Twilight Zone remake I did not enjoy.
I didn't even finish it. I watched like the first couple episodes, and it's something I wanted to, but whatever. Besides the Twilight Zone, like Get Out, Us were really good.
Yeah, I thought Get Out was great. I was a little let down by Us because I feel like it was like a very cool idea, but I don't know, like Jordan Peele's kind of been like my feeling about Jordan Peele writing about Class is like he's a guy who's been working in Hollywood since he was like 23 years old, and maybe he was a little separated from larger class issues than he needed to be able to write something like that. So I think a lot of it kind of fell on, some of it fell apart a little bit for me, but it was a very cool idea, and I really liked some of the concepts that they threw in there. I'm
Mhm.
excited for whatever it is he directs next, though. I think he's a
Yeah,
really strong director, and I think I really loved and I loved Get Out. I liked Us.
yeah, like Get Out, like it's gonna be a classic horror movie. It should be. If it's there's no reason for it not to be. It has everything I like about it. I like a lot of psychological kind of a horror, so it's really kind of a cool premise anyway. So I
Yeah,
don't know, Candyman, like with the right, I just never felt like it kind of. Now that the movies were bad, I couldn't say like the first, and it's been a while since I've watched the 3, but I don't recall watching them and being like, these are terrible fucking movies. It's more like I would like to see more of this that isn't just, Hollywood, either a cash grab or just, as, kind of like as they do when they get more into horror sequels.
yeah.
So I'm
And
really
like
curious.
I'm excited to see what they do with Candyman, because like or at least like how they bring that into the modern world. And I'm assuming they're probably going to be talking about gentrification in Chicago and cities in general, because I mean, so where they filmed the original Cabrini Green, which is the actual they filmed it in the actual Cabrini Green housing projects.
Yeah.
So like that got knocked down, and I want to say 2002 maybe. Like that's now at like a Dick's Sporting Goods.
Oh
So
my,
I'm
they should
curious like how they
film it.
work with that, and how they work with like the sort of the changing the changing nature of cities, the changing nature of these places that while they were run down, these were traditionally these are traditionally the homes and the locations of Black folks in America. And I'm curious how they sort of deal with this like rising tide of gentrification. And
Yeah, like I said, I'm really curious. Like, it's especially the fact that they fucking like tore that shit down. Like, how are they gonna like?
yeah,
I'm excited for it, and it's of course Clive Barker. So
yeah,
Clive Barker's fucking shitty
yeah.
luck with his foray into movies. Just always said. I remember there wasn't. What was there about Candyman that he had a hard time with too? There was. I know with Hellraiser he had a bunch of random shit. I swear I read something like the original Candyman. He was not a good time.
Yeah, I think it was something. I think he's been doing a thing where he's been doing the same thing Stephen King's been doing, where he's been canceling because I guess they put Congress put through a new thing where after a certain amount of years, creators are allowed to cancel contracts with movie companies if they haven't actually made a movie on your out of your idea for a while. So Stephen King's been doing that. That's why they made the Pet Cemetery movie, because they like literally had 6 months left on the contract.
It was a terrible fucking movie.
Yeah.
Except the ending though was interesting because it's not at all like the original ending. Like the twist they did was decent, but the original, like, it's kind of like the 80s, especially with that one. Well, that was like what, the cusp of the 80s, 90s, kind of when Pet Cemetery came out. I'm trying to remember the year the first one came out, but the ending, I mean, while a bunch of shit happened in the movie, like, you know, he survived, you know, it was, you know, obviously he survived because there was a fucking second one. So, but with this one though, I liked.
He wasn't in the second one. The second
No,
one was
no, it was a completely different guy. I'm just fucking, you know, losing my mind, I guess. But but I remember from the first one, he survived, killed the kid, basically. But he survived, and the new one, they fucking don't. And I liked the premise of that because I'm like, well, I really like a finality to a lot of horror movies too. If it's a horror movie, yes, it's cool if closure makes sense as far as if they make it out alive, but they don't really fucking need to if it suits the story. And we, you know, not everyone wants to watch a horror movie to see like a happy ending. Oh, they made it through it. I'm like, no, you guys just pissed off a fucking ghost. You're all gonna fucking die. Like, in what world would this, you know, would you survive this? Fuck that. You know, you buried your kid in a fucking pet cemetery. What the fuck do you think's gonna happen? Like, it's horror movies, especially Hollywood, and they're getting, you know, it goes up and down, but like we need more finality in horror movies. We need more, you know, this is a horror movie, it's a horror movie, but you know, at the very end, everyone's okay. Maybe one person died, two people died. Looking at you, Michael Bay, in the Nightmare on Elm Street fucking remake. That was fucking terrible. That had literally 2 fucking deaths in it, 2 or 3, I think it was. And the first one in the first 5 minutes was the only one like I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, but fuck that movie.
Yeah, that was a lot of wasted potential to be able, like, to have that amount of like CGI and do like nothing interesting with the dream world was just a utter like.
Yeah,
you didn't even try.
And you had Jackie Earl Haley, who's when I heard they were, because there was, but if I remember right, him being casted came out of left field because I know at the time they were going after Billy Bob Thornton for whatever reason, and I was just like, all right, I mean, sure, put him in makeup and let's see what it sounds like. Let's see what Sing Blade in fucking makeup sounds like. Yeah. You know, fucking Christ. But then I like Jackie Earl Haley a lot. I think I'd like to, when he's in roles that are really well written, he's really good. But like Freddy Krueger, you know, I mean, at least he had Robert Englund's height, I guess. Yeah. They're not very.
Robert Englund has suggested that they use for any future remake, right?
That they what?
So Robert Englund has suggested that if they do,
he would do it, right?
Remake, no, he doesn't want to do it at all. He's like, I'm 70 years old. I can't get thrown around anymore. I don't want to fucking do this. So he suggested, like, if they do a remake, they should cast Kevin Bacon. And like, the more I thought about it, it's like, Kevin Bacon would never do that, but that's actually kind of a good idea.
What does he look like nowadays? You know who?
He looks craggy as hell. Like, he looks kind of like a weird skeleton man now. It's great. He'd be great with the makeup on.
Yeah, and he's not a bad actor. They're like, Kevin Bacon is not shitty. I mean, we all liked the first Tremors.
Yeah.
But I know what actually would be better for something like that is if you're gonna do a Freddy, just do the James Earl Jones thing. Just have him voice it.
Yeah, that could be good.
I mean, get somebody that. I mean, yeah, just fuck it. We did it for fucking Star Wars. We can fucking do it for Nightmare on Elm Street. Like, get somebody that kind of matches the Freddy physique and just have him fucking do it, because we're still getting the Freddy one-liners. Or, you know, completely just let let it die. Please don't make it into another shitty movie that heavily focuses on child molestation.
Yeah.
Like it was really, I was just like I know that they cut this from it, and I know there's been back and forth of whether like Wes intended him to be that, but for how I interpreted the other movies growing up, it was he
For like
killed.
for like
Yeah.
25 years, Freddie was not a child molester, and for
Like,
them to like, oh well, we're gonna set it back the way it always should. No,
like I remember him. I can't remember if it was him, Wes, being like he initially had it in there and took it out because I think that's what it was. I think it was initially they were kind of gonna have him a backstory as that, but then there was another very real child molestation.
yeah,
Like it was, and so he was like, "We gotta yank this." I remember because I remember getting off on some fucking idiots that we were talking in a group talking about like horror movies, and someone brought up Nightmare on Elm Street, and someone's like, "One of my favorite horror movies is the Nightmare on Elm Street remake." I'm like, "Why the fuck would that be your favorite horror movie of all the horror movies that are out there, especially of an existing franchise? Why the fuck did you pick that one?" Well, because it's true to what Wes wanted. I'm like, no, it's fucking not. Like, what? Because he mentioned at one point that originally it was written that way, and they rightfully removed that because not only that would be tone deaf, but do you really want to watch Freddy getting fresh with a bunch of fucking kids? Like, he gets like Freddy creepy with him, like he doesn't, it's Freddy creepy, they're gonna die. They're not gonna get touched and then go to therapy and die or some shit. Fuck that. Like I was so pissed.
with Freddy creepy. I don't want actual.
Yeah, like they honed so much into it that I was just like, the fuck am I watching? Like, what the fuck is this? Like, I think almost at some point you can see Jackie Earle just visibly upset that he's doing this. Just like, cool, I guess I'm doing this now. Great career move. Anyway, moving on.
Continuations we don't want, the continuations that I would like.
Yeah.
My third pick for what I would like to see in 2021 at least is a continuation of the Black Monday murders. So, are you familiar with the Black Monday murders?
I am not, which is wild because I'm now looking it up and I don't know why I wasn't aware of this because this.
Yeah, so it's been on hiatus for about 2 years now. It's because the artist, and it's been the same artist the entire time, which I really appreciate in a comic book series because they seem to, a lot of them, even the indie ones, seem to trade artists like the coin flip.
The art is fucking holy shit.
Yeah, the artist, he's been having some health problems, so he's been recovering, and now he's a lot better now. So I think he's back in the swing of it, but I'm not sure yet. So it's written by John Hickman. It's drawn by drawn, inked, and colored by Tom Coker. I think it's colored by him.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, but it's a basically it is a. I'll use Lovecraftian in quotation marks because like the way that I described it is if you're looking for something that has sort of the spirit of a Lovecraft story in that it's about unknowable, indescribable horrors that kind of dip into into your general life, except it uses none of the tropes of Lovecraft. So it doesn't have tentacle monsters. It doesn't have, it doesn't have thinly veiled racism. It doesn't have
thinly veiled.
Well, there's stories where it's thinly veiled and stories where it is not. And hold on, we have a comment. Brian Rivera says, "Hi."
Hello, Brian Rivera. How are
Brian.
you?
So it's basically the idea is the unknowable horrors that somehow control our everyday lives actually do so through the veneer of the international monetary system. So our entire concept of the stock market is actually a creation of eldritch horrors from beyond, from another plane. And it is all sort of like organized by all these competing families from some of them are literal families and some of them are like economic schools. So there's a whole group of American schools, there's a whole group of Russian schools that goes into like what happened during the period of communism in Russia and how that affected how these organizations stored wealth, but also how they kind of integrated themselves in a different way with these horrible things like the god Mammon, that is the god of money.
No,
And
I'm
yeah,
just like checking this out,
it's
and
really, really fucking
it
crazy.
looks good. Like it's they just have volume 1 out, right? Because that's what I'm
No, they
looking
have 3 or 4 volumes now.
for volumes. Okay, cool. Because I'm like looking, I'm like, I need to buy this now.
Yeah, it's and yeah, maybe when we get back into doing these regularly, that can be one a thing that we review, because honestly, I want an excuse to go back and read them. They are so fucking good. The art is so good. The story is so good. The John Hickman, his way of doing backstory is through all these like infographics and things,
Mhm.
which sometimes work, sometimes don't, but in this book work really well. So yeah, the Black Monday Murders. Hopefully, it will come back in 2021. I'm really, really hoping, because it is like, for anybody interested in hearing about this, it is like or reading about this, it is
Mhm.
like imagine Wall Street meets The Godfather meets like the fucking King in Yellow. Like it is a mob, like it's a mob story mixed with like mixed with a weird horror story. It's amazing. It's freaking great.
Like it looks so freaking good.
Yeah.
I think I found like the first 2 volumes. I'm gonna
Right.
100% snag that, because that just like looking at kind of found one with like some samples, and just looking at the artwork, I'm like, holy shit, this looks really, really fucking good.
Yeah, Tom Coker, the artist, he does super, like it's not like obsessively photorealistic, but it's
Mhm.
just photorealistic enough and just not photorealistic enough to be like just utterly, like, it's visually beautiful to look at, and it's also, you don't get like caught up in an uncanny valley about it. It's really good.
Nice, holy shit! Like just, oh man, this artwork is rad. Let me see if I can find some to just real quick. See if find some stills. Or is there like a is there still you want to find? Maybe there's a to put up. I don't know if there's like, you'd know more about what you'd want to look for on that. Just so I'm like, man, what could I find that would be really like, oh my, just everything on this just looks, Jesus Christ, like the artwork. Holy shit. I found the first 2 volumes. I'm definitely like, holy shit. Let me see here.
Yeah, my internet connection is for some reason not loading,
All
not
right,
loading
here,
in
let's
full quality. So if
here,
you
I'm
can
gonna
run
share just like the Google search I got on this, just of just different scenes and stuff, like
yeah.
just some of the artwork off of this. Can you see that? Hold on, let me check. Yeah. Let me pull up some of this too. Let me get out of that there. Where the fuck did it? Yeah. Alrighty. Where the hell did, why the fuck am I like, I have screens that just like, there we go.
Yeah.
All hail God.
Yeah.
Jesus. Oh, did it follow me? But yeah, like,
Yeah, so it's basically the story of a detective trying to get to the bottom of a murder of one of the people in these families, and kind of getting pulled into this bizarre world of financial firms and hedge funds and Satanism. It's freaking
Jesus.
amazing. Like it's a gorgeous book, and it's an utterly fascinating story. I love the world. I love the world they created a lot.
Oh my God. I'm so fucking excited to read this. Holy shit. I had no idea. I've never heard of this. Thanks for, holding out on me, Greg. Wow. Any other cool comics you want to right now?
Yeah, hold on.
Hold on, it's like yeah. Where is it?
Yeah,
Just
actually,
slowly raise it up.
give me a second. Hold on.
Yeah. Hello, chat.
All right, so here's a bonus thing that came out this year that I didn't mention before. This is the Biologic Show. This is written and drawn by a dude named Al Columbia. It's put out by Hollow Press. But it is effectively it's a reprint of a bunch of volumes of this comic book that he wrote. I want to say in the late 90s, maybe early 2000s. But the artwork is fucking ridiculous. Like it's not
Oh my god.
photorealistic in the same way, but it's basically he's sort of moved into doing like a Fleischer cartoon style. Like he's doing like a lot of stuff that looks like Betty Boop cartoons, but majorly fucked up. But this
Nice.
is where he was sort of like working out his ideas, and so like
Oh my god, yes.
all of these, it just utterly like insane fucking artwork, horrible stories. It's focusing on a lot of different characters, but it kind of pulls up these two little kid characters he has in a lot of his books called Pim and Francie, and they're basically a rendition of him as a kid and his girlfriend or his ex-girlfriend as a kid, and basically it's sort of like them viewing what's happening in this, horrible nightmare world. And kind of all of his like Pim and Francie stuff is like that. But yeah, Al Columbia, the Biologic Show. He has another one out that came out from Fantagraphics a little while back called Pim and Francie, the Golden Bear Days, which is a lot more like Fleischer cartoon style stuff. And then but yeah, Al Columbia. If you can get your hands on anything by Al Columbia, check out his work.
I am on his like page or his website, like
He's
Floating World Comics, yeah.
Genuinely great artist, genuinely great writer, genuinely bizarre human being.
Oh man, like I'm gonna pick that up too. That is, I like that shit. I need to be more on top of that. I get too busy with moving and people not being shitheads here. So yeah. So, but yeah. So I think my last one for 2020, and it should be happening, but I don't know if it is. It's going to be the System Shock remake they've been talking about for quite a while now. To where was it early this year? We had a demo of it. We got to test out a little bit. I think I remember playing a bit of, and I guess they've been retweaking everything. But due to COVID and stuff like that, it keeps getting kind of pushed out a bit more. Supposedly coming out next year. I'm excited for it as somebody that grew up on like older like PC games like System Shock 2. They always hold like this place in my heart, like it's where you got like BioShock, and those games were based off of pretty much like that universe, that style. That game basically branched into a bunch of like different offshoots, and BioShock was one of them, which was probably at this point is something people are going to recognize way more than System Shock. But being like, fucking how old was I when I first played System Shock 1 and 2? Young as fuck, and running into like playing System Shock 2, and then running into the AI with that reveal or whatever. I remember just being a kid playing like, what the hell is going on? Because it's a little similar premise to like BioShock, AI kind of guiding you through stuff, and you find out the AI is fucking crazy, and surprise. So I'm excited for it. I definitely have more games on here than Greg does, but I'm more on top of that, it seems, and he just feeds me the good comic book stuff that I miss out on. So it evens out a way, But yeah, it's cool seeing like older games that as we're talking about reboots with movies and stuff. games, I feel like you can really just kind of like reboot whatever the fuck you want, because if it's done right and done by a really good company, typically it's going to be really well, especially with like really, really old games like the Doom remakes. Like the Doom 1 and Doom Eternal were fucking awesome. Like I'm excited that they took that and they made like what Doom is supposed to be, whereas Doom 3 was a horrible piece of shit game that wasn't, I wouldn't say it's horrible, but it's the one I really did not like a lot. I went through, played it, beat it, played the DLC, which made it a little bit harder, but I just didn't like it that much. Like they really kind of fucked with the story a lot. They added too much shit. And Doom is really just this: is you're a Marine, you're in hell is breaking loose, and you need to fucking kill demons. And that's essentially what those were. So seeing like games like System Shock being brought back, like, pioneer games that, spawned different genres or other games as offshoots of it so that other generations can access it. Because I mean, I've played the ports that are on Steam and they're not that great. And so given a better, smoother gameplay, is going to make, it's going to be able to tell those stories and people can connect to them instead of going, wow, this controls fucking suck. Like going back and playing Resident Evil 1 back to tank controls. It's not a fun time until you get the hang of it. So
yeah, I remember when we were playing the Glass Staircase, that Puppet Combo game, and we're just like, fucking tank controls.
I love you, Puppet Combo, but damn. But I mean, they were legit. Puppet Combo was legit when they were saying that these were PS1 port type games. Yeah. They fucking meant it because it is PS1 type controls.
Yeah. Oh, did you hear? They got freaking shadow banned on Instagram.
For what?
Yeah, they got. I can't remember if they got suspended or something like that for basically nothing. It was like violence and like a screenshot of a low poly monster bunny or something. And then they had the hashtag Puppet Combo. The Puppet Combo hashtag. So like hashtag Puppet Combo is now blocked. Well, not blocked, but it's that thing where you like search it and it comes up with nothing.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Like, and didn't they just share something? Didn't they share our post when we were going live playing their games and stuff? Like, I've enjoyed like whatever games we played by them. I've really enjoyed them. So
Puppet Combo shared us. The dude who makes World of Horror shared us. The Secrets and Soul people shared us like a week or so later. I guess they only check their they check their Twitter so often, but yeah, it's actually honestly like Puppet Combo has been really, really cool with retweeting like smaller creators who are like playing their games and stuff like that, which is really cool.
I would be totally down with I guess we'll kind of get into that as we kind of close things, as kind of format changing and stuff. But I would be really down with like, doing like playing more of like the Puppet Combo stuff as like segments of, just kind of what we already talked about, but even just like playing the game too, because I enjoyed when we played those games. I just remember the fucking jump scare of the fucking door from the glass house, the very first fucking like, what the fuck? Or like fucking that one we played that now my mind just went blank, the Love Sam one.
Yeah,
we had a lot of fun with that one. That was a great one. We go to the bathroom, Greg. It's your turn. I'm not going to that fucking room.
I don't want to go to that bathroom.
But like I said, there's some other games, during we took a bit of a hiatus with you moving. I moved. Granted, I didn't move, overseas. I kind of moved down the hall, but it was still an ordeal. Yeah. Sounds like, with the bullshit we both put up with moving into new units. Sounds fun. But during that hiatus, I kind of been trolling through like Steam, grabbing, when I see stuff, especially when they had the Halloween sale and some other stuff, just grabbing things that I'm like, this would be fun to play. This would be fun to play on Frankenstein House. This would be fun to co-op and play. And Visage was one of them that I've seen played a little bit at a friend of mine who also streamed. She went through and played a bit of it, and it looks great. It looks like pretty much PT. And then I found some, some indie like Twin Peaky kind of games. But like, I'm excited because Steam's been like releasing a ton of really good indie horror. Like, this has been the year, I feel like, for like indie horror games. Like, there's so many being put out, so many being reviewed, so many being played that, I mean, we live in a hellscape. Why not emulate it? Why not make lemonade out of a shitty situation? So,
Yeah. So yeah, honestly, I think it's probably a good time to sort of get into. We're going to be having some format changes in Frankenstein House when we come back for the new year. We're going to be trying to turn this. I think maybe not give the whole game away, but we're going to see a little bit more variety in our content here. We're not going to be doing this is our talk stream, this is our game stream. We're probably going to have a little bit of a pick and mix here.
yeah, I'm really excited. Kind of how this is going to change it up. We started this March, I think it was March. I think our first stream was like March something. And right around the time, I think it was right around the time when I moved over to Seattle is kind of when we started, right? Like
It was like I think 2 weeks before or something like
2
that.
weeks
because
before.
I remember you, or maybe like shortly before, because I remember you being in the old place and then being in the new place.
Yeah. So with the moving and stuff, and we've been kind of like messing around trying to find a flow, kind of figure out like, okay, we've done this, we've done some reviews, we've played some games, based off of now our new time zones we got to work in. Let's find something that's going to not only be fun for us to do, but be practical for us to do with, given the time zones. Because right now it's 3:04 p.m. for me, and it's probably god fucking late for Greg right now. So
11 p.m. Yeah.
11 p.m. Not too bad, but it's still pretty late. So yeah, there'll be some new stuff, some changes. Working on before with the moving, we were working on branding. We're still going to be fucking around with that a little bit. So, all you graphic designers out there that want to be paid in exposure. No.
Yeah,
no, we don't.
Money, but probably not a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, we're going to be working. There's going to be some changes coming up and stuff. So we're excited. I don't think we really have any plans of what our next stream is going to be. So we'll be posting updates. So keep an eye on the pages. We'll be more active on them, posting updates as we have them. And we'll make, like kind of, well, at least with my plan is, and, I don't know what Greg's is, he won't tell me, but my plan is like when we get back into it and we, get in and start doing like the first stream officially coming back in 2021. It's going to be a cool experience. And so that's really wanting to flesh that out and making sure when we come back, it's going to be fucking cool. And hopefully you guys like it. And if you don't like it, that's cool. We have a suggestion box that definitely isn't routed to a dead email address. So feel free to send as much as you want through that. So.
All right, man. Well, with that being said, I think it might be time to call this meeting of the Midnight Society to a close.
It's Stew Town time, baby.
Downtime. It's Stew Town time.
One of these days, mark my words,
Yeah.
we will have Stuart Townsend on here.
I got like a random update from Instagram. It was specifically the Stuart Townsend had updated his Instagram, and I thought like in my that's in the bottom of my soul is like, did Stuart Townsend follow Welcome to Frankenstein House on Instagram? And I had like a whole like thing of like, oh no,
Lawsuit City. But yeah, I think I saw like a
rumbled.
Like, oh no. But at some point, I think it'll come full circle, and either A will become big enough or he'll be desperate for money. Either way, those are positive outcomes, no matter how you look at it. So maybe someday, who knows? Anyway.
Well, it has been awesome kind of catching up and doing one of these talk streams with you. Even with our new format, I think doing one of these every now and again is a kind of a cool thing to dip in and out of.
It's cool to kind of like, take a break from the stuff we'll be working on to just, sit down, pour a drink, and, just make fun of Stuart Townsend and Combi Christ. I mean, if people could sit through and watch the 3 hours of us doing that, then at that point we're already successful. All 3 of you out there, one of them's probably Greg looking, so all 2 of you out there, this is for you.
Yeah. Anything to plug before we go?
No, not really. Still got projects I'm working on. Nothing crazy to announce just yet. Now that move settled, the only thing really is that I've been setting up my home studio, amassing synths and gear. And definitely by the next stream, you'll get to see not this in array, but it's going to definitely look a lot better. And that's really it. You know, I'll have announcements for some music shit I'm working on and some comic stuff. You have some announcements, don't you?
I mean, sort of. Okay, so I'll go with the disappointing news first off. My Kickstarter crashed and burned.
You got close. I think you got at least over halfway, didn't you?
I got about 42%,
Okay.
which is it was not where I wanted it to be. But we decided because honestly, the artist and I kind of agreed that like, you know, this a lot went on that wasn't our fault. Like we launched this at a time when like a lot of other very high profile comic book projects were happening. There's a lot of like big stars in comic books that were doing stuff. Sean Gordon Murphy put out a comic book. Keanu fucking Reeves put out a comic book. Fuck you, Keanu.
I had no idea he put out a comic book, and
Yeah. And then like a week before the end of our campaign, Cyberpunk 2077 came out. So fuck you again, Keanu. So yeah, a lot of stuff like kind of stole our thunder. I think it may have been some of the ways that we kind of tried to sell the book maybe needed some different stuff in there.
my only concern with it was like being so close to the holiday season, which on one hand makes sense because I'm like, well, if people are wanting to spend money, but also people are buying money for presents.
Yeah.
And I was curious. I was like, oh shit, it's so close to that holiday season. Like, I wonder how that's going to go. And, but I mean, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So our decision basically off of this is that we are going to we're looking for a new way to put it out. It might end up being so we're pitching the project to a couple publishers. And worst case scenario, we might do another Kickstarter, and this one will be probably for less because we'll just front the cost of actually producing the thing up front, and then we'll just like if you can cut us $500 to print the damn thing, we'll send it out to you because like I want this comic to exist. Like I think this is a cool idea. I think it's a cool story. I think it's I need more stuff in my writing portfolio for sure. So.
Send him a check for $500 right now, and you'll have a comic. That's it.
But yeah, I'll update as that's going on.
Yeah, I'm excited. I was very upset to see that it didn't.
Yeah.
Like, 'cause I was like fucking all in. I'm like, fuck yeah, boom, let's do this. I'm all in on this. I want to see. Like, you've been telling me about this idea like for a couple years or so now. Like, I remember you were talking to me about it like when I came out for my birthday a couple years back. And stuff, and I'm like, wow, this is what I want to see this as a comic. So it's so good. I feel like it's gonna one way or another. I think you're gonna be able to get it done, and hopefully,
I mean, at least what we're doing right now is going to be a standalone story, but it's going to be like part 1 of 5 of a longer story. Like you can read this, you can put it down, and that can be all you get of the story. But if you continue reading part after part, you'll get a much larger thing. So there's not going to be anything that you have to do. There's not going to be, I'm not going to leave anybody in a fucking cliffhanger or anything. But honestly, I'm really excited about that. But the good thing that I do have to announce is that a comic book that I wrote, sorry, not a comic book, a short story that I wrote a little while back called Meadowbrook Camp. Got adapted into a French podcast. which just went up pretty recently. It actually went up right in the middle of the campaign, so I wanted to hold off on promoting it until that was over. But I'm basically, yeah. So there is a French podcast. I will go ahead and just pull the name of it up now. So Avant d'aller dormir, and they are, and I'll just post this in the chat right now.
Ooh.
So yeah, so anybody who speaks French, go to that. And the second to most recent episode that they posted, you can actually hear a French version of my short story, and they link to the English version in the show notes.
Nice. Heck yeah. I'm gonna have to check that out. Like, we made a podcast based off your short story. That's kind of rad, especially the fact that your short story got inspired people in France. So,
well, yeah, it's and they basically did just a translation of it. It's one of the segments on the larger podcast. It's one of those things like it's like the No Sleep podcast where they have it's like an anthology thing.
Okay.
But yeah, they adapted it. They translated it into French and read it on this podcast. I'm really thrilled that people in other countries, people in other languages are finding things that they like in my writing. It's really cool.
That's badass. I'm excited to see more of your writing come out. Like, I feel like it sucks with what happened with Obsolete, but because you and the artist are so like dedicated to it, I feel like the next avenue you take to try and put it out is probably going to be the most successful avenue for that. So hopefully a publisher picks you up. I don't see why they wouldn't, because it's fucking awesome. So, like, I mean, anyone that's, worth a damn is going to look at that and go, well, fuck yeah, I want some body horror cyberpunk, especially with cyberpunk being out. Well, I don't think it has very good press right now. So let's.
Yeah, that's a thing I didn't want to get into, but it's like, well, if you had just supported my comic book, you would have gotten the full thing.
You would have
patched in 6 months. But actually, I just want to show this comment here. Yeah, so No Sleep, the podcast grabs a lot of their stories from r/No Sleep, the subreddit, which is where I actually post a lot of my short stories. So if you search me on Reddit, I'm under Ritual83 there.
Nice.
You can see a lot of my short stories I've written there, and I've never actually been on No Sleep the podcast, but that would be cool.
Well, I mean, you should just message those guys like, hey, that's my book.
I've actually talked to the person who
nice.
They have a 4-year backlog of stories to actually read. So yeah, there's
you named your podcast after
yeah.
Like, I should be at the front of the line. This is bullshit. That's awesome though. Like, hell yeah.
But anyway, as far as plugs, that's all I got right now. Check me out on Twitter. You can see that in my. There we go. I got the right side.
You got it. Yes, you got the right hand. Mine is right there. I almost went like that and was like, oh, fucked it up.
Yeah, so you can catch me on Twitter. Definitely add me there. I'm on Instagram with ritual.83 if you want to see pictures of my cat.
Sweet cat, like Magpie is fucking adorable. So
anyway, so I think that's it for us today. Any parting words for us?
Release the Howard Cut as always, and we'll be updating all of our social medias as we have more updates. I swear we'll get better at it, because I have a Twitter and I don't use it except to shit talk, occasionally calling out like ID games for fucking bringing John Romero back, like bring him back. So I'll get more active on that, do more advertising and stuff. But we'll definitely make sure that we're updating, like, hey, this is where we're at, and we'll be sure to post, like, we'll schedule, like, hey, this is what we're going to do this stream. We'll make sure we do it in advance, and we're not like, hey man, in 3 hours we're doing this fucking stream, you better watch it. It'll be awesome. We'll see all of you there, and if we don't, I guess you didn't love us, so fine, whatever. So anyway, I'm excited.
All right. Well, I'm G. Alexander saying goodbye for Bonna. Goodbye. And release the Howard cut.
Release the Howard cut immediately.
I'm gonna play the intro video one more time just for the fuck of it.
It's amazing.
All right. Later, folks.
Later.